All right, let's do this thing. Can you hear that?
Hello?
Hello. Yes, I think they can hear you. So you're
Okay, am I coming through clear? Can you?
Yeah, yeah. Okay? So apparently your name is Jim.
Yep, that's correct. I'm Jim.
Okay. So Jim, how can I help you?
Well, first I just want to make sure, is the audio coming through all right for you? Sometimes my Skype is a little iffy.
No, everything is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the level's a little high, so let me just get that right. Yep. Okay, it's good.
We're good to go?
Yeah, the audience out there, I have to say, they're all waiting. They're like, it feels a little bit like, the Romans and the whatever,
Well, they've come for bread and circus, yep.
For a circus, yeah. Is this what you do?
Well, no. If you remember, you're the one who initiated contact with me on Twitter.
I responded. Absolutely, I responded to a tweet of yours. So then, from there ensues a discussion.
Before we even get into before we even get into your response to that tweet, let's talk about that tweet itself, because that seemed to be what grabbed your attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a tweet to Sean Murray for the Twitter handle No Man's Sky. That was the dev's account that I was responding to.
Yeah.
And I had made a 30-second video, and people can look on my Twitter if they know what it is. They'll see the video that I'm referring to. Basically mocking Sean Murray and implying that the reason that any update was released on the 27th is because it was one day before Cyber Monday, which is an enormous sales day online. People are buying products from online shopping stores and wherever they can get it, and that the timing was quite coincidental, considering that he had been radio silent for about 3 months before that update and that information was released. And you seem to take offense to that.
Well, I took offence to your treatment of the subject and the way you're treating a game developer. But let me just ask, it's like, what issue do you, because it's a bit difficult with those kind of like, shall we say, tabloid delivery of a position, is exactly what is it that you took exception to in that whole little story that you've described?
What is it that I have? What's my umbrage with Sean Murray particularly?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Let's not get off track. I'm talking about the actual tweet itself. What in your tweet, that particular thing, because I think if I understand it correctly, basically, you took umbrage at the fact that they released the game, the patch, I should say, or the update. They released the update just before that important. We don't
Sales
have it
day
here, but over, because I'm actually in the Netherlands, but you're in America, right?
It's an online sales. It follows on Black Friday, so it's the Monday after.
Yeah, it's the Monday after. Yeah, exactly. So if I understand correctly, you took umbrage at the fact of the timing of the release.
Well, yeah, if you want to understand why particularly I took umbrage with that and why I'm mocking Sean Murray, it would go back to his development cycle of promise after promise after promise of what that game was going to be, luring in a ton of people to buy his product, and then failing to deliver on any of that.
Well, okay, but this is, we know that's a whole nother big story, right? But it's like we can't bite off too big a chunk, then we'll choke on it, right? So we just let's look at that. Well, no,
you're asking me for my explanation. I'm trying to give it to you.
Sure. But
Sean Murray is a con artist.
Well, I understand that's
when
what you
he releases his update a day before Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
I see that as just as him pandering to get more sales. I see that as not a genuine update of here I want to make it right by the consumer. I see that as how can I sucker more people into buying a product that has been panned universally by the people that purchased it and by reviewers for failing to deliver on the key features he said was going to be implemented on the original sales day.
We know what the story is, and there are different viewpoints of that, but I just want to put a kind of alternative scenario. Right?
Go ahead.
Because, I know what you're saying, but like you're not a game developer, are you?
No, I'm a customer.
Right, yeah. So you've never developed a video game?
Nope, never developed a video game.
Do you know what's involved in developing a video game?
Is it something special that's different from any other industry that delivers a product that they say is going to be like the product? If I buy a car and drive it off the lot and the brakes don't work, do I say, well, I can't take umbrage, they're just a car manufacturer?
Yeah, there's a difference, though, because the process of making a car is very different to the process of making a video game, which is why I'm asking. What do you know about the process of making a video game?
What's different in the process of selling an honest product and selling what you promise it's going to be? Because in both of those industries, it doesn't matter at the point where you're selling to the consumer.
Yeah, but
point of purchase is different in development.
But the point here is is that if you understand what's involved in making a video game, then you'll understand what the motivation probably was behind certain things that you see. So, in other words, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on the fact that when a developer releases a video game, if there are people who don't like the video game, they don't like the video game. Okay, and then they can feel upset. We understand that.
This isn't about no. This
but
isn't
what
about
you were doing,
one sec.
What you were doing in your argument was reading into what the developer's motivation was. And I'm trying to say, if you understand the process of making a video game, you can see that there may well not have been that motivation to it. Not directly anyway, not in a cynical way. Okay? It's the cynicism that you're referring to, and it's the cynicism is I feel misplaced. And I say that as someone who's been making games for a very long time. So in other words, right, the problem is that you've got your perspective and the game developer has their perspective. The game developer's perspective is often in a world that is very complex, where it's very difficult to even just get the product to ship. Okay? And your perspective is one of just being a customer who gets a product, has expectations so the product arrives, either the expectations are met or not. Okay? Now,
well, no. You can't say as a software developer that it's some kind of special profession where you're given leeway to explicitly lie to the consumer because it's a tough job.
You should never lie. Yeah, I agree.
Well,
you should absolutely agree with you.
That's what Sean Murray did. Did he not? Did he not lie to people and say that there would be multiplayer, that there would be features that were never included, that they had to go and reprint labels for boxes that were already shipped because their legal department was worried about online components getting lost?
The reason I said let's not, because I could talk about that all day too, but I want to talk, because if you want to understand why I took umbrage at your tweet, I'm explaining to you why. It has to do with the process. Now, you might feel justified in doing that because of the history. Explain the
process to me then. Explain what makes it so special that you can lie and deliver a bad product.
Don't try to put words.
And expect the consumer to accept it. That's unfair.
No, you're putting words in my mouth. I'm not going to try to justify that.
The gist of what you're telling me is that it's a hard job, so we should give them more leeway.
Right, let's try and find a bit of common ground, right? Do you think it's ever right to lie?
There could be justifications for it, I suppose, in some absurd scenario where if you don't lie, some kid's going to get murdered.
Okay, so really what it means is that if you accept that there are some situations where lying is acceptable, it becomes in the end the motivation for the deception. This is nothing connected with video games. I'm going talking philosophically here. Okay. It is the intention that matters, right? You said it yourself. In some situations, intention matters. Well, if we live in a world where it's possible that any of us could lie to anyone else, how do we ever get along? That's called trust. That's the purpose of trust. The purpose of trust is that, because there is no written hard and fast rule about every single way that we should behave, then the way that we manage to get along as people is that we trust each other. And the trust comes from the idea that people do something because they are motivated in a positive way. They have a positive intention. Would you agree?
Oh, okay, so I just want to make this clear here. You're going to take this into a philosophical discussion rather than a simple business matter. Well, because that's the only way you can defend it. It is with generalities. You can't specifically talk about Sean Murray and No Man's Sky.
No, one moment. When you say the word lie, the problem I have with that is that what appears to be a lie to you, right, might not actually turn out to be intended as a lie, or might not actually be a lie. I don't care what his intention was. He lied. At the end of the day, he did not deliver the features he promised. And we didn't find out about that until we bought the product. That's bullshit. That is your view, and you're entitled to that view.
That is the reality. That's why people were upset.
What? Wait a minute. That's your view. That's not a reality. It is a view.
What do you mean that's not a reality? Are you kidding me? Well, have you not seen the reaction? Did he not say there would be an online component that people could interact with each other in the game and never
what, mate? I would have to answer that question honestly. I would have to actually go back and research all the things that were said. Okay? So I'm not going to argue with you on that one. What I am going to say is...
So you defended a man who you don't even know what he said. You just jumped in because you saw me talking to a game dev who lied to people.
Do you want to understand? No. Do you want to understand why I said that or not? I'm trying to explain it.
You just said you don't know what he said, so you can't judge whether he was lying or not. So why did you defend him if you don't even know? But
you weren't talking about him lying.
Yes, we were.
Not in the tweet. Not in what I was reacting to. What I was reacting is what I'm trying to explain to you. What I was reacting to was that you took the view that it was cynical for the game dev to wait until the day before, that Monday, to release the game.
Yeah, I'm saying he's a fucking greedy thief. You're right. That's
wait
exactly
a minute. How did we get to that?
That's not implication.
Well,
that's a direct statement.
We go from... So that's quite a jump there.
How is that a jump? I just explained to you at the start of the conversation that's what I meant.
A jump. All right, let's just say for a minute that everything that you said is true about what happened before, up until the day the game was released. Okay? I happen to disagree. And there are other people who happen to disagree, but let's just say that by some kind of objective scale you were right. Then we have to look at what's happened since. Okay.
I don't care what's happened since. He's already ripped people off.
Now, wait a minute. You are talking about, because your thing was about what happened since they released an update. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the update. Do you think
he's redeemed himself? Do you think he saw the light and came to Jesus and released the patch because he really cares?
Did I say that? No, I didn't.
No, I'm asking you a question. I didn't say you said it. I said, do you think he's seen the light and come to Jesus and wants to release an update because he feels so bad?
Actually, sorry, that was a bit confusing. What's Jesus got to do with it?
It's a turn of phrase. Did he see the light? Did he come to Jesus? You know what I'm talking about.
No. What you're saying is do you agree with me and my exact perspective on exactly Sean Murray and all the rest of it? And
you just set up the situation where you said, let's go with the assumption that everything you said is correct, that Sean Murray is a lying, greedy motherfucker.
No, I didn't say that.
You just did. Rewind the stream and
listen to it. Okay, shh. Okay, all right. What I said was, let's just go for a minute to say, okay, let's just believe for a minute that that reality that you had was
right. And so going up,
let's just say that. But I disagree with it, but let's go with that, right? And just say if that's the case. Then, because you have that view, you then can only see what happened since in a certain way. Now, what about an alternative explanation? Oh.
You mean something other than objective reality? Okay, what's the alternative explanation?
There's the problem with objective reality.
If it's objective and real? Okay.
Well, wait a minute. No, I've got a different opinion to you about what happens after that point.
Okay.
Okay. I have a completely different view, which is based on years of experience of being a game developer, which is why I said, do you know anything about the video game industry?
I don't need to know anything about the video game industry. I'm a customer purchasing a product. I don't give a shit what your rationale for releasing a bad product is. I'm the guy to give you money for it.
Then don't try to tell the developer what they were thinking or intending if you don't understand.
I don't give a shit what they were thinking or intending. They're robbing people by releasing a broken product.
You do care because you put a value judgment on what they were doing. You are trying to say what their intentions were.
I'm calling a thief. Yeah, you're right. I'm absolutely calling a thief a thief. Sean Murray is a lying thief.
Point of order there. That was the bit that we just said, okay, let's draw a line on there and just go with the idea that that viewpoint was true. I'm talking about what's happened since.
And I'm telling you in response to that, I don't care if he came to the light, if he saw Jesus, if he said, I'm going to release this because I truly believe I've done wrong and I want to make amends. My point is he's already robbed so many people. If he wanted to make amends, he would have gone out publicly and said, I released a product that I lied about. I released a product that was broken. I released a product on promises that were never delivered.
Maybe he doesn't feel that's the case.
They had a tweet they sent out where they said No Man's Sky was a mistake, and then they deleted it. And then they played a game where they said, oh, our Twitter account's been hacked because they said that.
How do you know?
How do I know that he wasn't hacked? Because that's the Internet 101 when somebody fucks up and wants to say, oh, I didn't really do that.
That's just circumstantial. And also the tweet. I hear that tweet. You know the way I read the tweet? I read the tweet as, oh, my God. I don't know when it was timed, but it depends on the timing, right? So I don't have the facts there. Maybe you can tell me because you seem to be an expert on it.
Exactly I am an expert on when people spread bullshit, which is what Sean Murray's doing. I'm an absolute expert on that. I can sniff it out. You're right. I am an expert.
Yeah, so it just depends on the timing. But leaving aside the timing, which might prove this viewpoint to be incorrect, I don't know. But if I'd seen that, what I would have thought the developer was saying was, shit, we didn't expect this to get this kind of vitriolic reaction. Maybe, there's a regret to having even bothered to try and make the game in the first place. And that's because I'm likely to take that viewpoint because I'm a game developer, right? And I can understand how you take the other viewpoint. But the point here is what was the purpose of your tweet?
The purpose of my tweet is to take the piss out of him. The
Why
purpose
do
of
you
my
want-
tweet is to remind him that he's a fucking con artist and to remind other people not to believe his bullshit. That's the purpose of my tweet.
So I'm getting a bit confused here because basically the purpose of your tweet is to spread your perspective.
So are you saying the purpose of my opinion is to give my opinion? Yes, that would be the purpose of an opinion.
Is it? Is that the only purpose of an opinion?
What would the other purposes of an opinion be?
Well, you have an opinion, one that's open to change. An opinion in the end is a model of the world. And
if you can argue it well, other than, oh, it's so tough being a game dev and Sean Murray's a great guy, you're going to have to give me more than that. He's sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars from the sales of that game.
I have no idea the character of Sean Murray. I don't know him.
So then why would you defend him and jump in
because he's
to
a
that
game
conversation?
Because he's a game developer, and I think you were treating...
So it's camaraderie. The only reason you care is because you're a game developer too. You don't give a shit about the customer. You care because you develop games.
I care about the customer, and I know that Hello Games care about their customers too.
How do you know that?
Because I know.
No, how do you know that? You just said that I couldn't know these things. So how do you know Sean Murray gives a shit? How do you know he's not sitting there right now laughing at people upset about his game?
You know how? Because I have trust in that camaraderie. Now, if I'm shown to be wrong, what? But that's not the point here. The point is why the disrespect? Because
why should I trust your trust? I'm the guy putting money down. It's not your money, is it? Are you buying me games?
You don't need to trust my trust.
You're right. I get screwed as a consumer. You having faith in somebody doesn't make the purchase better.
That's your view, that you were screwed as a consumer, and we have to respect that.
No, that's not just my view. Go look at the reviews for his game. Load up Steam and take a look at No Man's Sky. No. Load up Steam and take a look at No Man's Sky. It is one of the most negatively reviewed games possible with the most refunds that have been given.
Yes, well, this is known. This is known. And it's very interesting because the game also has an audience. There are also people who love the game.
Yeah, you've said this before on Twitter. You said, oh, it's got an audience. Well, like I responded to you, a guy taking a shit in the street has an audience too. It doesn't mean what he produced is valuable, does it?
That is true, and I think I agreed with you, and I said that is true, but I'm not exactly sure how that's relevant here.
My point is you're trying to say because it has an audience it has worth. That's bullshit. A majority of the people that bought the product were upset with the product.
I didn't say because it has an audience it has...
Well, that's what you're implying. You're saying it has an audience.
An audience of people who like it. There are people who actually like the game. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand that.
There are people who like the game.
There are people that kept the game. Yeah,
they like the game.
No,
not just kept the game. They like the game.
Okay, you want to talk numbers? No. You want to talk numbers? Let's talk numbers. When No Man's Sky came on Steam, it had 250,000 concurrent players.
Seriously a minute, mate.
A quarter of a minute,
mate.
What
the hell do the numbers matter? Just for the moment.
You want to talk numbers about people liking the game. It had 250,000 people playing it when it came out.
I wasn't talking numbers about people. I just said there are people. I understand. Why do you want...
250,000 when it came out. It's got 3,000 now.
Why do you want to talk numbers?
It's lost 247,000 people playing it.
Why do you want to talk numbers all the time? I'm not saying it's wrong. I want to know your motivation. I want to know your motivation for the numbers. Not saying that it's wrong. Why?
That's what I'm telling you. Let me finish.
Okay.
250,000 people were playing it concurrently when it launched. Now it's got 3,000. 247,000 people stopped playing No Man's Sky just on PC, just on Steam as a platform. If you want to say people liked the game, let's put that idea into perspective. 3,000 out of 247,000 liked the game.
So why, the point here is that even if that's true, what right do you have to go around accusing the game dev of doing anything but their best? And
what right do I have to make a judgment call based on behavior of a person? Every right, just like anybody else.
What right do you have to read into that with any justification, statistical justification, the intention of the developer when you do not know what was going on during the development and what it takes to make a video game, and also the complications of PR of a video game?
Well, first off, like I said earlier, I don't care what the
Then if you don't
process
care, you
involved.
shouldn't make a commentary on it.
Are you going to let me finish, or are you going to just get jabs in? Like I said, I don't care what the difficulties involved in making a video game are. I look at it from a customer's perspective. Any product that's put on the market with a promise of how it's going to be should live up to that promise. I'm giving you money I worked for. If you lie to me to get that money, I don't give a shit what your justification is, what your rationale or excuse is.
Yeah, okay, I agree with you on that. So then by an objective measure, we have to look at the thing that the Advertising Standards Authority have ruled that there was no misleading.
Oh, okay, I want you to go look at clips of Sean Murray telling people like Stephen Colbert, telling people at IGN, telling people on Game Awards that it was going to have multiplayer, that it was going to have all these features built in. Yeah, you can run into other people. Yeah, you can have interactions with people in multiplayer. And then a day before launch, they redo their packaging because they don't, with no explanation. It's just the game's launched. Oh, by the way, there's no multiplayer.
Yeah,
Thanks for everybody pre-ordering the game and giving us money on a promise we never delivered on. Thanks for giving us the money.
And if that's the case, then that would be bad. And I'm not going to assess whether or not that was the case. The only reason why I'm going to be cagey about that one is because it's complicated. Wait a minute. Let me explain why it's complicated. When a game developer is making a game, they will often talk about their aspirations for the game. But as they build the game, right, those aspirations are not going to be so... 1 second.
Yep.
This.
Take your time.
1 second. I just need to. I'm not going anywhere. I just need to check something, okay? Because life goes on, all right? So I'll be right back.
That's fine.
Hi. You still there?
Yep, I'm still there.
Look, so we're going a bit around in circles, okay? So look, can I just sort of set the motivation for my response? Can you at least understand where we're coming from? I understand where you're coming from, okay? From the point of view of a customer who felt that they were misled, okay?
Yep,
if we want to summarize it, okay? You felt you're misled, you buy the game's disappointing, you think that you're not alone and that there's a majority there. I'm not saying you think because there's a doubt in your mind, or I'm just saying it's what you think, right? And then you wonder why I took exception. And this is where it gets tricky, right? Because people find it difficult to detach one issue from the other. And can I just describe what I think the story is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, which is, I don't know. Okay, but nor do you really because I'm going to guess, and so you're guessing too. That's my point. But because I am a game developer and I know about making games, maybe this other perspective might be helpful. If we say that, there is no doubt whatever the intention was, the effect was as you describe, and that that's the way a lot of people felt. Okay. So what would you do, or what would I do if I was in that situation? I want to make it right. So the first thing is, well, if we make it right, what do we do? Now, there was always planned additional content. This is known. The silence thing. When the crowd are booing, all right, maybe it's good to stop trying to communicate where your words get twisted, and just put your head down and work on the product. So it seems like that's what they've done. They've worked on the product and they have released an update which, from what I have seen, is being well received. Might not in your mind make up for whatever evil deeds in your mind, not being sarcastic, but they are what you think, right? And what other people think. It's not saying it would make up for that. In fact, it's an irrelevance as far as I'm concerned. It's up to you whether it makes up for it or not. I mean, But I'm talking about what the developer will have done. To do this patch in that period of time will have required an awful lot of work, but also requires an awful lot of risk management, which means that you might have in mind what you want to release. But because video game development is unpredictable, and this is the huge difference that I was alluding to, you can want to put so much into your game that you may well find that you have to cut because of problems with the schedule, because of problems, unexpected things turning up. Right? This is what happens time and time again. And so that's the reason they won't have said anything. In fact, it makes perfect sense. We're not going to talk about what's coming out in the next patch until we are sure, until we are absolutely sure we can deliver. In fact, the best way to do that is not to say anything until we have the Gold Master, because I tell you that in game development, it's like that. There can be the situation, every game dev has been through this, the situation where at the end of the project, just as you're about to ship, you have to cut a feature. So if you really, really, really want in game development to never suggest or even hint at a feature unless you are 100% certain you can deliver it, then you need to wait until the day before you have that master. And that master has to come weeks before the game hits the shelves, generally. Although in this case, it's an update, so it can be very fast. It's not like it had to get into the stores. So in fact, this case, it would be a short time. All right. That's the reality of game development. So when you look at that, then you can understand maybe that's why they kept quiet. And in fact, he even said that. That's why they kept quiet and why they delivered it. Now, the second thing I'll say to you is in deciding how much to put into the game, it makes strategic sense to ensure that there's a release date of the patch that is in time, or the update that is in time with some point where there are a lot of sales. Every game developer would do that. Like, make your game for Christmas. And so it's entirely natural that that would happen. So when I look at that story, what I see is just normal game development and nothing cynical at all, but looked through your perspective on things, right? The way you're looking at it makes it look like it's some kind of horrible, cynical thing. And no, it isn't. They probably had a ton more features they didn't manage to get in there in that time, because they have to set a time. And why not set that as the time they want to release for that date?
Oh, okay. I guess my response to you would be, on the 2 points that you've raised, would be this. In regards to delivering a product that you promised, Sean Murray, and again, you don't have to take my word for it. Later on, if you have the time, you can go look it up. There are numerous clips of him throughout the past year before the release of the game.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Saying the things that I'm talking about features that were never in there. He had a year to promote that game, and a year of pre-orders, people ordering the game ahead of time, talking about it going gold before it's ever shipped, and no time up until the launch of that game did he come out and say, you know what, these aren't in here.
No, I told you why.
No, yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you're releasing a product, what I'm saying is, if you're releasing a product and you're promising people something, then you damn well better give them a heads up and say, you know what, I couldn't deliver on this.
Yeah,
your product is not going to be how I promised it. We're going to offer a refund for anybody that wants to refund their pre-orders. I'm sorry.
It's a scary thing to offer to do that. They may have wanted to do that, but then there is the other side of it, which is that then maybe they're afraid that
they should be afraid if they released a product that didn't have the features they promised. Yeah. But they should still own up and treat the customer well.
This is where we come back to. This is where I agree with you, mate. I agree with you on that point. If you're in that situation, I agree with you. All right. And I'm not going to comment about the details of this particular case to say whether or not or whatever. In principle, I agree with you. If you promise something, you should deliver it. Yes. I would say that the biggest problem here was the expectations got out of hand, and we can look at that and say, what do we learn from it? Okay.
Well, I'd go back to this and say, how did the expectations get out of hand? They got out of hand. People expected what they were promised. Nobody imagined features were going to be put in there. They went on what Sean Murray and the No Man's Sky Hello Games dev team told them. I didn't, the customer didn't think, oh my God, he's going to put multiplayer in there when he never mentioned it. They didn't think, oh my God, he's going to put all these features in there.
Yeah, but the
when he didn't
announcement,
mention that.
but the announcement of multiplayer did happen before the game was released. But then you've got the problem of pre-orders. So I'll be honest with you and say I don't really like the idea of pre-orders either. I think pre-orders are bad. For this very reason, right? Because
and I agree with you. I think pre-orders are terrible, and I think alpha and beta testing and having people pay for that with early access is ridiculous.
No, I disagree with that. Actually, I disagree with that. One of the most successful. No, I mean you go too far on there with it.
Let me finish my thought. Let me finish my thought, and then you can disagree.
Okay, go on.
I think there's a trend in game development and in the gaming industry as a whole, as of late, to take advantage of the consumer and get as much money as possible. That goes into things like early access with alpha and beta testing, having people basically take the role of Q&A and pay you money to bug test your game rather than have you go through the code and do it yourself.
Oh dear, there's so much there.
You can respond. You can respond. Let me finish. I also think the issue with DLC these days has gone in a ridiculous direction with on-the-disc DLC, where they chop out content and then sell it back to you when it was originally part of the game to try to increase revenue streams. I think the customer, as far as video games and software is concerned, have become these milkable money bags where companies think that they can take advantage of a customer and do whatever they want, because what are they going to do? Who cares about their opinion? Yeah. That's my feeling on that. Okay. And one other thing, and as far as Sean Murray is concerned, and Hello Games, going back to that theme, the second point that you'd raised about releasing the update patch and they want to do it near a sales day, if he really felt bad about releasing product, hypothetically, according to you, but if he really felt bad about releasing a product that failed to deliver on the features he promised his customers initially, then it shouldn't have been centered around a sales day. That practice should have been abandoned. He should have come out and said, you know what, we fucked up. We're going to make it right. I'm sorry I didn't deliver what I promised I was going to deliver. I will do my best to make it up to you and get a patch out and have the content that we didn't deliver on. And sales day be damned. Who cares about Cyber Monday? I'm going to make it up to you because I value the dollar you worked for to pay me for the product I promised.
Yeah. So sort of, you know what? They released it and they haven't charged for it, so it's free additional content. So I think in their minds they were doing that. And then as for the judgment call that you're describing, you're not on the board, their executive board. You're not the one who's sitting there looking at the cash flow situation and deciding, how to manage the risk. It's easy to say that. But you know what? If the biggest sin in trying to fix the situation is to time the release to time the release of the update to an event where there are big sales, to a holiday or whatever, then that's pretty small beer, isn't it? Because the update is free. Okay.
How do you think the customer feels when they've been waiting for 3 months to get the game that they were promised, and then he only releases the update when a sales day comes by? It makes you feel like shit.
That's the problem, is that you're saying only release. It's not like they had the release there in a bag and they've been waiting 3 months. They had to.
He could have waited 2 days.
They had
and waited past the sale, couldn't he?
They had, yes, but that was the time that they aimed to do it, probably for financial reasons.
That's what I'm saying. He did it for
financial reasons. Doesn't mean
make it
get it straight, mate. Financial reasons a lot of the time doesn't mean buying a new car. It means surviving. And
he's not just surviving. He sold $100 million worth of his product.
I don't know. I'm talking from the point of view of game development in general. I'm talking
specifically about Sean Murray. He is not a struggling indie game dev. He is a multi-millionaire from this product alone. Hello Games is financially sound and in the black.
Great. Well, then take up that. But you can do it in a respectful way, and the way that you made
Why
that
would I
point
be respectful to somebody who treats their customers like shit? Why would he deserve respect for taking advantage of people?
I don't know, but if you want to know why I have no idea, but if you want to know why I responded to your tweet, which is why we're talking in the way that I did, I've explained that. And that's why I don't want to get dragged into. It's not about Hello Games. It's about looking at a game developer, from my perspective, doing their best, and then getting treated when they do their best to that kind of abuse. I see it as abuse.
Everybody deals with abuse. If you look at my YouTube channel, I get called a faggot and autistic on a daily basis. I suck it up.
Why did you call me autistic?
You invited it. Go look at the tweets. You
I
said,
didn't-
"Oh, are you?"
how-
You asked
how?
me specifically. You specifically asked me to talk about autism. You said,
No.
"Only if you
I did that
only
because
if you
I did
promise
that.
us lots of new
I
insults
did
lined up,
that.
and we talk
Right?
about autism
Yeah, of
too."
course. Because you know why I was saying that. Because
I don't know.
have to
I have
deal.
no idea why
you
you
want
were
to know?
saying that.
I'll tell you why. Because I have to deal with abuse frequently. Okay, I've had to deal with abuse my entire life.
Everybody
Okay.
does. Welcome to the
it's-
internet.
yeah. That's a common thing that is said. Well, in this case, right, you actually spontaneously asked me if I had autism.
Yeah, I asked you. I didn't.
Yeah,
call you
that's how
autistic.
it started.
I
That's
said,
how
"Do
it
you have
started.
autism?
That's
You're
how
autistic,
it
aren't you?"
started.
Because
That's
you
how
called
it
me
started.
Hugh meme. You called me
Yeah,
Hugh
okay,
meme, which is a really autistic insult.
No, but do you know what that means?
Yeah, I looked it up on Urban Dictionary. Where the
Oh
other
no,
editors
well I
put the
don't know.
definition.
It's a word I made up. What does it say in Urban Dictionary?
It says a living meme.
Oh well, actually, that's probably about right. That's kind of what I was thinking. But this is a philosophical thing that's going on, and if you took offence at that, I apologise. Okay, it's not.
I didn't take
It's-
offense
well,
at it.
great,
I
I'm
mean,
glad.
I looked at that response and I was like, "This is," and I'm not insulting. I'm not saying you're autistic. I'm saying
Okay.
that's just something somebody with autism would say.
Yeah, but it's a bit weird to suddenly sort of say, "Are you?" I mean, you know. So okay, but look, just so you understand where I'm coming on with that, this human thing, it was. It's very simple. It's the fact that you've got human behaviour. I'm alluding to that which makes you different from a machine. If a human being is just responding to memes all the time, or is a meme carrier, right? They become like a machine. And what I see very often these days are people that they're all the same. They all kind of like wear a uniform of opinion. It becomes they are more like a machine than they are a kind of a sentient being. And that's maybe now I've said that you'd feel offended, but maybe I shouldn't use it. But the point I'm saying is that it just seemed to me that what you were doing was an automatic response. It isn't really sitting down and thinking about it in a kind of a more in-depth way. All right, and that's where that comes from. But,
And all I'm saying in response to that is that comment comes off as autistic. That's
Right,
why I
that's
asked
for-
you. I was
that's for
legitimately
you, it's
asking you
fine.
because I've run into people who have autism who've said stuff like that, and so I didn't know where
yeah,
you're
well,
coming from.
It's not actually true. Well, not true. I am not, as far as I know, autistic, and I say as far as I know because, yeah, I've never been tested, so I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor, but as far as I can guess, I probably am not.
Now, can I ask you a question as a follow-up to that? And this is, I'm being completely legitimate with you. But on Twitter, you'd said, bring your insults, get your fanboys whipped up or riled up, something to that effect. And be insulting, let's see what you can do. But I noticed during your pre-stream, people were saying you're blocking them, that you're blocking them from Twitch chat. So why would you ask them to be like that and then block them for acquiescing and doing what you asked?
Well, I did say before you came along what the rules of the channel of my stream are, because the thing about my stream here is that this is nothing unusual to what I do every day. Pretty much every day since the beginning of April, I've been twitching development on my game. So, and what I like to is impossible right now because the chat is off the flipping scale, so I'm not even looking at the chat right now. But there's one rule, which is just be respectful. Now, you might ask, why was it I was asking for that? Well, that's because it's a way I learned to deal with this. I mean, frankly, you came across, on Twitter, you came across as being somebody who was just out to insult me left, right, and bloody centre. And in fact, actually, you kind of went for the jugular, didn't you? And so if that's what you want, we could always ask why, but if that's what you want to do, then who am I to stop you? I mean, why should I try to stop you?
Well, it wasn't that you were trying to stop it or, anything
I
like
wasn't,
that.
exactly. I was bringing it on.
Yeah,
why?
but what I'm saying is you were encouraging it.
I
So then
was.
why ban people for acquiescing and doing as you say, waiting for them to get to your stream and saying, no, don't do that, even though I told you to on Twitter?
Yeah, well, because Twitter is not my stream.
Well, we weren't even supposed to technically be on your stream. You agreed
No,
to
I
come
know,
on.
but I didn't trust you. Not when you started arguing the toss. When I was saying I kick back to you at 8:30, and then we can arrange a time then. But that wasn't good enough for you. That wasn't good enough for you. And not only was it not good enough for you, but you start tweeting all these comments, there was insinuation about it, when I had every intention of, of figuring it out, but I wanted to go and spend some time because I work probably around 90 hours a week again, and I have a couple of hours with my, my significant other.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to do that before, carrying on with this. But that wasn't good enough for you. So at that point, I said, well, if you want to do this, you'll have to do it in my place.
Yeah, but
I'm
to
not
be
going to trust
fair,
you.
to be fair, you agreed. I didn't put a gun to your head. You said, "Yep, I'd like to do the Metocast," and then you followed
No,
up
I didn't
with,
say. I said let's do it. But I know. Then you dragged up the thing. But anyway, look.
You directly responded to, if you would like personal insults come on my Metocraft stream, I'd love to hear you defend your game. And you responded, only if you promise to have lots of insults
Yes,
lined
I know.
up. Can we talk about autism?
Okay, we can do that.
And then I specifically asked you for a time, and
Yes.
you took an hour to get back to me. And then you said 8:30, whatever your time is. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. When you said you asked for a time, I missed the tweet. My Twitter was really full. Come on. And there also, I had to go and have dinner. So the point here, mate, if you want to know why I switched the venue, I gave you the answer. The reason I switched the venue was because I didn't feel that you were respecting my boundaries. So if that was the case, I really didn't want to come over to your place.
You didn't put any problem. You asked me, when do you want to do this, and when I responded, you said nothing.
And when we
and then
talked about it, I said, oh my God, you really are. I said I'll get back to you at 8:30. We can pick a time then, but that wasn't good enough for you.
Because if you can respond to me in a tweet and say, I'll talk to you at 8:30, you could easily have said, I'll do the stream at this time.
I didn't want to give you a time then. You wanted
why not
me to,
if you agreed to
why
do it?
not? I didn't want to give you the time right then because I didn't want to. That's respecting my boundaries. You couldn't respect my boundaries.
I don't understand why you're saying you don't want to. If you agreed to do something.
Is it important for you to understand my boundaries for you? Before you
accepted the challenge, though. I'm here as a nicety. I gave in to you changing the venue and selecting.
I know, which was good because it wasn't going to happen otherwise. Right.
So what you're telling me is you lied to me when you said you'd come on Metocast.
No, you see, here you go again.
You just said it wouldn't happen any other way. So when you said I will come on your stream, lying.
No, I said okay. I was up for it. We negotiated when it would happen. I didn't like the way you were negotiating. And so I renegotiated. Hey, what is there more to talk? You want to drag this one out? I'm going to check the crowd out there. How's the crowd doing? How are you all finding this? It's like, wow.
You're right. I'm going to talk about this because it comes back. Okay, our whole conversation has been about how game devs treat their customers. And you're saying that as your perspective as a game dev, this is what you think. And here I am talking to a game dev who gives me his word that he's going to come on Metocast.
I just said, yeah, sure. But you know what, mate? No. No.
Now he's saying he wouldn't do it or he would do it, but only here and then and this.
What's fascinating about this is that the problem at the bigger scale is shown at the smaller scale as well. All right. What I actually said was, yeah, okay, why don't we do that? But we had to actually organise a time. We tried to organise a time, and I didn't like the way that you were organising the time. I got new information about you. When I got that new information, I didn't feel comfortable about coming over into your venue. Now, given that that was the case with the new information that I had, I made a choice. And this is one of those situations where it's not about lying. It's about I was open to it. And then I was close to it when I got new information. Now,
wait. Well, this is really important. Wait.
Yeah, it is important.
You initially said that you didn't like the way I was trying to set up the time, but now you're saying it was because you got new information. So were you lying to me then, or are you lying to me now?
Information was the information I got in trying to negotiate a time with you. Information I got about you from that interaction about the time.
I sent you 3 tweets asking when are we setting this up. You never responded. How is that me not being respecting your boundaries?
Several times, and I said I'll get back to you at 8:30. Come on, mate.
I'm looking at our interaction on Twitter right now.
Do you think the audience are loving? Do you think your fans are loving this? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's what they would do. But we could sit here all bloody day. Look, the point is, you want to know why I switched the venue. I told you.
If this was my stream, we would have 3,000 to 5,000 people watching, and yes, they would be loving it.
Yeah, well, maybe they would be loving it, which would be wonderful, but I didn't feel safe coming into your environment. I've told you why. Now, other than that, what can I do for you?
You didn't feel safe? What the hell are you talking about? It's the fucking internet.
What?
What do you mean you didn't feel safe coming into my environment? What are you talking about?
Well, let's just have a look at that. I'm amazed that you don't understand.
Yeah, wow me. Explain it to me, because I really am curious.
You have this huge, big channel with 3, 5, 7,000 people. Oh, wow. Okay, so you've got this. All right. It's your castle. It's your ground. It's your domain. This is my humble little domain and my humble little channel where I twitch every day the development of my game. This is my place. I feel safe here. Your place, right? I have to enter that place on the basis of trust. It means to go into your place and your domain with your 5 to 7,000 whatevers means that I have to trust you. If I don't trust you, I'm not going to go in there. I didn't trust you.
You talk the talk and you didn't walk the walk. You accepted. I didn't force you to accept.
I talked the talk. I don't know who the hell you are. Maybe you think I do. I've never been to your channel. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do.
But you made the judgment basis based on an interaction on Twitter. So if you didn't like me or thought I was bullying.
That's called being open to it. And then I changed my mind when I saw the way that you're behaving. Look, I changed my mind because of the way you were negotiating with me. Right? Now, sorry, but has this kind of broken your heart in some way? Has this kind of damaged your self-esteem? I don't understand what's going on here. It's very simple.
I
didn't
like
trust you. We come here.
Just like I don't like people that talk the talk but don't walk the walk.
I think
you talked a lot of shit on Twitter, but then you backed out pretty quick.
I didn't back out. I'm here.
Yes, you did. I came here because you refused to come on MetoCast after you agreed to it.
Oh, after I agreed to it, and I've explained to you why. Okay? So now, either you can live with that.
Okay, we had an interaction on Twitter where you said I was saying these mean, insulting things, and you were egging it on, saying, "Show me your worst, insult me the worst."
Yeah, exactly.
And you were fine with that, and you agreed to come on the cast at that point. But when I asked you what time you wanted to come on, that was the bridge too far.
Well, no, you asked me what time, and you nagged me what time, and I had to remind you I was. I nagged me, and I reminded you
times
where you suddenly said, "Oh, he's gone silent on me. I wonder why." I had
because you did. You didn't respond for 30 minutes.
I was eating my dinner, and I come back and I say, "Okay, look, this is my routine. 8:30 usually ends." I said, "Okay, we'll sort out something. We'll organise something at 8:30," and you carried on. And I told you this. I told you this.
Let's read through it. You can bring it up on your screen.
This is dead boring, isn't it? I mean, come on. I mean, this is
it's not.
It's like,
it goes to your character. It's not dead boring at all. Bring it up. Bring it up on your stream.
What do you know? What do you know about my character then?
I know about your character based on what you present, and you presented a lie. So bring it up on your screen and show the people watching.
I presented
if I'm not telling the truth, prove me wrong. Bring it up on your screen and show it to the audience.
Well, then it's just like the same thing. You know what? I had an aspiration, right? Aspiration's the wrong idea. I had a plan, and I thought it was a good plan. Plan is the wrong word. I said yes in a tweet. Okay, let's do this. Okay. And then I found that, in fact, your behaviour didn't make me want to do it anymore. Now, if it's really that important to you, it's possible that we could do it another time.
But it doesn't even matter at this point. It's my purpose of bringing this up is why would you talk all this game on Twitter and then say you're
I told you.
It sounds like such a bullshit excuse, mate.
Well,
it sounds like bullshit. Like, I was suddenly upset.
Look, we can resolve easy to resolve this. It sounds like a bullshit excuse to you. Okay. And now what? You can tell the rest of the people who follow you, they might agree that it sounds like a bullshit excuse to you.
Well, you have people following you. Ask them.
I have explained to you why, and you can believe me or not believe me, and reflect on how this reflects on my character any way you like, but that is the reason why. Can we move on?
Oh, okay. Well, let's continue then. We talked about Sean Murray. We talked about the MetoCast. Let's get into the bulk of it, which was my response and then our interaction after your response to the initial Hello Games tweet. Basically, the rest of our conversation on Twitter. Would you want to move into that?
Well, I mean, because there were two questions, I think, that were there. One of them was the whole thing about your tweet and my reaction, right? Which I think we covered.
Well, no, I'm talking about because you are a game dev, and I brought up the game that you just recently released.
So the second thing, that was the first thing, and I was just waiting to hear if you agreed, right? And the second thing is the question, it's a very good question, of how can I be proud of my game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before I get into that, I have a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you proud of your channel?
No, I do it for amusement.
You do it for amusement. So you're not
Yep.
doing it for a living.
No, there's no Patreon connected. There are no ads on any of my videos. I do it for free.
What do you stand for?
Nothing. Having a good time. I like having a laugh.
You stand for nothing.
That's
You stand
right. I like
wait a minute. No, you do. You stand for having a laugh.
Yeah, I like to have a laugh, yeah. But there's no
well.
grand cause if that's what you're asking when you say, what do I
so
stand
it's right. Okay. So that's why you're not particularly proud of what you do. You just sort of do it, and that's it.
Well, who takes pride in shitposting? It's just shitposting in video form.
Oh, so is that what it? So it really is. It's just shit posting. So you just shit post. Okay, so that's what you do. Okay, that's not what I do.
Yeah, I shitpost. I shitpost videos. I shitpost on Twitter. That's how I find amusement, yeah.
Yes, how you find amusement. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's fine. If you find amusement that way, that's great. But, you don't even try to be proud of what you do. That's fine too, if you don't want to. For me, video games is my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I've spent my entire life doing it. I've kept a family doing it, raised a daughter doing it.
Okay.
I've reached 51 years of age doing it. I'm still doing it. And it's something I love to do. And it involves putting yourself on the line.
Okay.
Where it matters. Not where it doesn't matter. Not where it's just like shit posting. It actually matters. It's hard to do. If I had to sum up all the hours that I've spent being a game developer, it probably must be about 30,000 hours by now in my life.
Well, yeah, work is hard. Nobody's going to argue with that.
Yeah, work is hard, but this isn't like making washing machines or cars.
How do you know? Have you ever worked in a manufacturing plant?
Well, you know what? When you make a video game, there is a lot that is similar to that, but it's not the same. This comes back to the thing that I was saying before. Because it's also a creative thing. It's where you put a piece of yourself. If you go and talk to any indie game developer that are doing it, well, there are two kinds of indie game developers. They're the ones who are doing it because they want to. Well, it's difficult to explain really, but you can make video games as a job, and you can make video games as something more than a job. It's like if you ask somebody who writes books, for example, if you ask an author, a writer, why they write books, they're not going to tell you that they write books for the money, right? They write books because they put a piece of themselves into it. And that, in indie game development especially, that's what you do. But regardless of, how it is for anybody else, for me, it really is exactly that. Because I started when I was a teenager, and I have, put my entire life and soul into it, and I've made games. I've always been an indie game developer. I was an indie game developer before indie games was a term.
Okay.
First game I released commercially was 1980. Right?
Yeah, I looked up your background. You released a good amount of games, like Mega Drive, and was it Amiga?
It was on the Amiga. It was Kickoff, right?
Yeah, and then it got ported, yeah?
Well, Kickoff, and it was Kickoff 2. Some of the people who kind of like, I think it was somebody who was following you, he was tweeting, he was saying, well, I don't know how I think anybody who decides to make a soccer game is like, that's the end of their career or whatever. And, well, actually, over here in Europe, that might be the perspective of someone over in the US, but, I'm from Europe, right? So in Europe, well, actually, the big news is that the most popular sport in the world is soccer. So really, I don't know how this is supposed to pan out. But anyway,
no, I know you guys over the shit like FIFA and all that stuff. I know it's a big European thing. Games sell really well.
It's all over the world: South America, Australia, everywhere. The only place.
Well, when I said over there, I meant not America.
Yeah, not
America. I look at it as
like
America and then not America, which just
exactly. I mean, the only country where soccer is not and absolutely is part. Actually, it's more in the same way as some sports are the life and blood of your country, right? Soccer is football, as we call it, is the life and blood of cultures all over the world. It's the single most popular sport in the world. But I I made a game for that in my early 20s, and it was the most successful game for a while. Right? It was the most successful football game for a start for about 2 years. But it won major awards and so on. So, it's like, okay. So the only reason I mention that is because it's like, well, I wouldn't be able to do what I have done for so long if I didn't take pride in my work. And this comes back to some of the things that, about the way that devs get treated sometimes, okay, by certain groups and so on. It's that you can take the point of view.
What certain groups, though?
Sir, come on, there is.
No, I'm asking you because I don't know what you mean.
Yes, you do know what I mean.
No, I don't. I'm asking you to explain. Maybe somebody in the audience doesn't. What?
Okay, all right. Well, there is a toxicity that has developed among gamers.
Okay.
All right. It feels somewhat fascist in the way it's working. It's tied into things like Gamergate. It's tied into this SJW thing, which annoys the hell out of me. Just the way that you can take 3 words which are positive and try to turn them into a negative. But basically, what you've got is a thing where if you are someone like me, right, who makes games because they want to make the game they want to make, that's the thing I always have done, and what I did with the successful games of the past.
Yeah.
And what I have done after about 25 years of not being able to make indie games anymore, because people might not realize that indie game development kind of died out and started to come back about 8 years ago, right? Is that if you are doing that, you want to make the kind of game that you want to make. It's very, very difficult to get the courage to do that if you've got a bunch of people in the audience who are going to throw stuff at you, right? And that exists.
So when you say fascist, how do you mean fascist? How are gamers reacting in a fascist manner?
I'm not saying gamers. That's misleading. That's not what I said. I'm not saying gamers are reacting in a fascist way. I mean, that's not what I'm saying at all, right?
So you're saying these are non-gamers that are acting like this?
No, that's not what I said either.
No, I'm asking you. Okay,
it's a percentage. It's a small minority, actually. It's a
minority of what?
Of gamers. A minority.
Okay, so
of gamers.
you're saying gamers are acting like. How are they acting fascist?
Well, because through their actions, they're trying to dictate what kind of games can be made and what kind of games can't be made, and how they should be made, and when a game is declared finished or not finished.
How are they doing that? I mean, give me an example in relation to your product.
I'm not going to go. Either you see it or you don't. I mean, if I can't, I'm
asking you to explain it to me. So, in relation to your game, how are they acting in a fascist manner towards you?
I'm not talking about my game. I'm not going to talk about my game.
Okay, pick one then, and give me an example of how they're being fascist and dictating.
I'm not going to talk about my game because that would just be
no, that's fine. Pick another game, and then give me an example of how they're being fascist.
Okay, well, let's say somebody wants to release a game that is we could say No Man's Sky in some way, but then you have this other point, which there are 2 points with No Man's Sky. One of them is the one that you've already addressed or talked about. The other one is about the question about whether No Man's Sky is a game or not. So there are certain games like walking simulators or whatever, right? That games which are not treating the medium in exactly the way that we're necessarily used to.
So outliers.
And they will get abuse. Now, here's the thing, is that it doesn't matter about people not liking the game. Okay? Even my game. If people don't like my game, that's fine. Right? There's a lot of misconceptions about my relationship between me and people out there. I've been accused of blocking people who don't like the game. That's not true. I block people who insult me. There's a huge flipping difference.
That's fine. But in relation to this, so you bring up walking simulators. So how do you know that the people that are reacting to that with vitriol, saying mean things, let's say, how do you know those aren't just gamers that fucking hate walking simulators and think it ruins the hobby or ruins the
that's the problem,
the genre?
Right? Well, okay, so it's like if they don't like them, fine. If they don't like them and they're hurling abuse at the game developer, not fine. If they don't like them and they go on some kind of warpath as if that type of game is a threat to games, That's not right either. And that is a form of fascism, isn't it? Hey, we can't have this kind.
How is giving your opinion on something fascism?
Ah, wait a minute. There's a big difference between just giving an opinion and intimidating and attacking people. Let's take Phil Fish. Huh? How about Phil Fish?
Yeah, let's talk about Phil Fish.
Talk about Phil Fish. Nobody likes to talk about Phil Fish. I'll talk about Phil Fish all day. I love to talk about him. Yeah, I'm sure you do. What do you think about Phil Fish then?
I think Phil Fish is up his own ass.
Goodbye. You know, I mean, come on. The first thing that you can say. The first thing that you can say is an insult. I was so hoping you'd come out with something a little bit more classy than
you asked me what I think of Phil Fish. Now,
all right. Well, you could have chosen
him as an individual, and I gave you a real assessment of what I think.
It's true. There was an ambiguity there, but it would have been really nice if you talked about the story.
But that's not. You didn't ask me about the story of his product. You asked me about
what do you think of Phil Fish?
Yeah, Phil Fish. That's not the name of his.
It's true. Okay, I accept that. Let me rephrase the question. What do you think of the story of Phil Fish?
It's kind of a bizarre. What do you mean, like the story, like the recent events in the news, or what do you mean, like him as an indie game dev, or what exactly?
What happened to Phil Fish?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Because we can talk about Phil Fish the person, and we could talk about the story of Phil Fish. Like,
okay, give me a rundown of the events then.
Where did Phil Fish go wrong? Tell me.
I think that he let his ego get the best of him and became adversarial with his consumer base, and that led to him imploding on Twitter and saying he wasn't going to do a sequel to a game, and antagonizing people that were potential customers, and basically that was bad business. That's what I think of Phil Fish.
Well, actually what happened, as I understand it, because everybody has their own understanding, and that's one of the things, isn't it, which is probably terribly boring to some people, but there are multiple perspectives, and so it's never just that easy. I mean, it's quite easy just to sort of rail on a person and say about them, right? Or me, as you did. You go and look at some statistics out there. Well, of course, I understand now you do it because it's a game. Well, okay, it was a game. Very good. I mean, we have to question whether the game is actually helping anything or not. I don't know. But, you basically reduce me down to a Metacritic score, It's very easy to do that. I mean, you can just say that about Phil Fish, but there's a really interesting story behind it. And in fact, the actual problem...
Phil Fish or Metacritic? What are we talking about?
The problem was Marcus Beer.
Oh, okay. Give me your rundown of the Phil Fish story then.
You don't know about Marcus Beer?
No, I'm asking you to give me you want to tell me this, so I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you know.
Go ahead and give me your rundown of what you think Marcus Beer, how that relates to Phil Fish's attitude.
Do you know? I want to know what you know about it. Do you know about Marcus Beer? Who Marcus Beer is?
I'm a complete virgin. I don't know anybody but Phil Fish in the world. I've never heard of anyone else. I consider me tabula rasa, buddy.
Oh my God, that's disappointing. I'm actually curious if you know who Marcus Beer is. But Marcus Beer is a journalist or commentator, and he did a video. A video recording for some site or whatever, absolutely railed upon the guy, insulted him in the most vile way, apparently, and not just him, but another guy whose name I forget. Apparently, the reason why was because he wouldn't express an opinion about some Microsoft deal with indie devs.
Okay.
And right? And that is what sparked it off. And frankly, if I was,
you think people dislike Phil Fish because of they were colored by that article or by Marcus Beer's opinion? You don't think they're turned off by him, or they dislike him as an individual based on his actions?
I'm sure that there was other stuff brewing, but if you're looking at the tipping point, that's what it was.
Well, give me a percentage point of all the people that dislike Phil Fish. How many dislike him based on him?
You have the figures. Generally, I don't. I can tell you that's my understanding of where it went wrong. So what you're describing in the story about where it sort of spiraled out of control, and in the end he cancelled Fez 2. Actually, that happened. It wasn't he doxed. It wasn't his service hacked. So it actually went beyond even just words and actually.
Well, how could he be doxed? Everybody knows his name is Phil Fish. That was his Twitter handle. He identified himself.
Oh, you know what? Well, maybe I'm using the word doxed wrong. What do you understand the meaning of the word doxed?
Are you getting at the financial documents that were released in relation to his company and the payroll?
His company sensitive data was compromised, is my understanding of it. All right. And
yeah.
So anyway, the point is that he was attacked until he couldn't take it anymore, and he quit. So in fact, actually, you can look at this in various ways, and you could say, okay, well, Phil Fish, if someone might say that Phil Fish, I would never say it, so I'm having trouble even suggesting somebody else saying it, but someone might blame Phil Fish. I don't think that's justified. But the point is that intimidation caused Phil Fish to quit.
Oh, okay, Phil Fish was adversarial even from the initial release.
It doesn't matter. It's because you're adversarial. So what the hell?
Are you going to let me finish, or are you going to just interrupt?
Well, if you're going to tell me he's.
You're not even letting me answer.
Because I want to know if you consider a problem.
If you want to know, let me finish my answer.
Okay, go on.
Phil Fish was adversarial with his consumer base well before Fez 2, well before the financial incident that you're talking about. I don't know when the placement of Marcus Beer or his article comes into play, but he was known to have problems with people. He was known to be up his own ass. He insulted other devs. He was full of himself based off the initial success of his game and the initial interest of his game. A man with that kind of an ego is a very fragile individual. He couldn't take the banter.
No, that's the story, and I'm not going to argue with it. But what I am going to say is...
I'm not discounting what you're saying either, but I'm saying that Phil Fish has a history of behavior that's well documented.
But that's not my point. It's like, he's a guy who's young and doesn't know how to handle, or didn't know how to handle the attention. Well, excuse me. He
sure knew how to handle the attention when he was bragging about how great he was.
Yeah, but he doesn't, because he's just a young guy who ended up getting success at making a video game.
Phil Fish didn't do nothing, right? I mean, he's just this innocent guy that couldn't handle the attention.
I'm telling you that it's fracking difficult to deal with success. So maybe it's time that people kind of understand that and react to the way people are with a little bit of compassion. Okay? And
Phil Fish was dickish to people. Why would I be compassionate towards that? I'm not asking you to be compassionate towards me. You said I was an asshole to you. I don't expect you to treat me with kids' gloves.
I think we should all be compassionate towards everybody if we can. It's important.
Well, I think the world should hold hands and sing Kumbaya. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. There are realities.
No, it's not going to happen as long as people are going around, being angry and disrespectful and full of prejudice all the time.
So
reducing people down to a Metacritic score, right?
Okay, but to bring it back to the original point, because we kind of got here from the fascism discussion, you think that people being mean to Phil Fish or saying mean things to him is somehow related to fascism?
Well, I think there's an argument for that, isn't there? I mean, isn't it a case that if somebody...
It sounds like a bad argument,
well,
but give it to me.
Yeah, it's opinion, Yeah, obviously, I'm going around a particular issue. You either accept it, you don't. I don't know. But if we're having a chat, then they would try to... But what's the point of us talking? Isn't it just to sort of exchange points of view and perspective? I don't know that everything I say is going to be perfect, but I can tell you...
I think it's a bad argument, but I'm willing to hear it.
But the point I'm making here is that, look, what do I want to see? I mean, we can just boil it down to that. What do I want to see? I want to see a world in which anybody who wants to make the type of games that they want to make can do so without fear of intimidation.
Okay, what do you consider intimidation? Is me rating your game badly on Metacritic intimidation?
No, that's just a review, isn't it? But I can tell intimidation is then... what you were doing, wasn't that intimidation?
Did you not give it back just as good as I gave it?
Yeah, but that's the reason I did in my own way. But you want to know why? Yes. You want to know why I reacted in that way? It's a very simple explanation. I wanted to have a defence for your intimidation, right? But I didn't want to dish back the same thing that you were dishing to me. So therefore, the best way of doing that was to invite you more, because maybe I want to make you happy. I mean, if it really makes you happy to do this. I mean, would you like to just throw some...
So then how is it intimidation if you encourage it and invite it?
Well, because then it doesn't become intimidation anymore, doesn't it? Then it means I have control. Because that at the end of the day...
it's not intimidation.
That in the end of the day is what it's about. When you're intimidating someone, you're trying to exert control upon them. So it's a trick. It's like Tai Chi. It's like, okay, I'll invite it now. I mean, because of course you've made a comment about me being English and perhaps having an ugly face. And I know you like so.
Because you said I hate myself when I look in the mirror.
I know, right? I did say that. That was a bit strong. And if it hurt your feelings, I apologise.
No, I felt intimidated.
You felt intimidated by that.
I think it was fascist of you. Yeah.
Well,
right?
I don't know. I have to think about that one. I'm open to admitting mistakes if I make mistakes. So I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'm not ready to give you an answer. I know that what I was trying to say by that was, yeah, I was trying to say what you were saying. Really, I looked at it and thought, what is this the way you want? Is this what you stand for? Okay, it comes back to that. But now, you know what? Now I know that you don't stand for anything. Then it's all a joke. So,
yeah, like I said, I do my stuff online for amusement. Yeah.
So well, then if it's all a joke, then I know to react that way. But I would agree with you that that particular comment is perhaps a little strong. Yeah. But you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? It doesn't matter. It's how you feel about it. So you honestly tell me how you feel about it. If you honestly felt intimidated by it, then I apologize.
Okay, well, was it your intention then when you said that comment to be fascist?
No, I wasn't being fascist.
Well, you said intimidation is like fascism. I mean, this is the conversation we're coming on.
My intention was not to intimidate you.
So then when people are shit-talking Phil Fish, how do you know it's their intention then to intimidate and be fascist rather than talk shit to them?
Well, exactly. It comes back to what we said at the beginning. What I said at the beginning. It all depends on trust. How do you know whether someone's... Is it ever wrong to tell a lie? You know, at the end of the day.
Well, going back to your point,
we make
then,
mistakes.
You want trust for game developers, but not for consumers. You're willing to say we should trust game developers when they fuck up, but when a consumer is a dick to a game dev, we need to assume that's fascism.
No, we need to trust. The trust needs to go both ways, mate. Don't try to.
So then, why would you even say that there's a segment that acts fascist when you yourself said, "No, I need to trust that's not their intention"?
From the actions that they take, you can see.
Just like I said, from the actions and behaviors of Sean Murray. Right, that what I see as a person who's a con artist lying to people, but you said, no, I need to have trust. So I'm turning this back around on you and asking you, in that same vein, if you want me to trust him, that he has good intentions, why are you saying these people are fascists?
Trust can get broken in many ways, right? It's simple. Trust can get broken in many ways, but we need to try and build trust. So here's one of the ways to build trust. If I've said something that's upset you, and I can say, okay, and I get your perspective, and I could go, oh, okay. And then I say sorry, and that's fine. And then I try to avoid that again. I'm not perfect. It's not like I don't go through my life 100%
yeah, but
avoiding...
I'm not raising it because I want you to apologize, or even because I felt it was intimidation. My point
you said you did, but anyway.
Yeah, because I'm trying to highlight a point. It's ridiculous. You know you weren't trying to intimidate me. We were back and forth on Twitter. That's just how people interact.
No, it isn't. That's the point. Is that it matters. It matters. You can't just... Because there's a whole bunch of people out there who think it doesn't matter, that it's okay. You can say whatever you like. You can accuse people of anything.
If you don't like what somebody has to say on the internet, you can block them, you can mute them, you can ignore them, you can walk away, you can talk to somebody else. There's nothing keeping you from having that conversation. You can't say, I am intimidated by this person saying this.
But if you're a game developer,
hit a button and make them go away.
That's an illusion. If you're a game developer these days, you have to interact with the internet. You have to work on building a relationship with your audience. And that is what, gets damaged when you've got a bunch of people in the audience shouting down what the game developer is trying to do. And then there are other activities as well, such as review bombing. And so, what I call for is just this thing of don't just every time a game developer releases a game and it's not the kind of game you like, or you think it's a kind of threat to the existence of video games, or it's whatever, is by all means criticize the game. Always treat the game developer with respect, and it's in your interest to do it, because if you don't, then people will feel too intimidated to make video games.
And this is what I feel is so bizarre, from at least in relation to video game software development. I can think of no other profession where this line of thought is accepted. If I go into a restaurant, really, if I go into a restaurant, order a meal, if I order a steak and they bring me a shitty hamburger, and I go leave a Yelp review score, I don't hear the chef coming out and saying, well, you shouldn't have said I was a shit chef that didn't listen to your order. You need to respect me and have trust in me. But I put money down. This isn't art. This is business.
There is a difference between you giving a review of a game and intimidating the game developer. Activities
And
that are
what I'm
going on
saying-
out there right now are intimidating game
And
developers.
when I asked you for an example, you couldn't really
I
give me
did
one.
give you an example. I gave you an example of Phil Fish. Is that not good enough? I gave the example of Hello Games.
Well,
Is that
who
not good enough?
intimidated him?
Come on. Look, mate, if you can't accept that, if you don't see that, then I am not equipped at this time to present you with the evidence that would convince you. I don't think I can, okay? Right? But
Well,
if
then
you-
answer my question.
if
What
you
other
want me
profession
to-
would this line of thought be acceptable
Yeah,
in,
okay,
where
that is an interesting question. And it
Okay.
comes back to the thing that you keep saying. This profession is different because you're expecting people to create a product that moves you emotionally.
So, like movies or a book,
Yeah, well, anything that's creative in that way.
right?
Right, but unlike a book has no technical constraints on it. A movie has technical constraints, but fewer.
Okay. Well, I'll use a movie then if it's closer.
Video games are hard to make. They are different because you have to mesh together, right? That creative design with technology, with a budget, with production, to a deadline.
Okay, well, any piece
And
of hardware could be that. I mean, if I'm making a microprocessor, if I'm building a car, that's integration of design.
You're making a
build
microprocessor.
quality.
It's there to function, but a video game is there to entertain. And so I put it to you: I could make a video game that was delivered on time, delivers all the features that were promised, right?
Yeah.
And does everything that it was meant to do, okay? And then it's still people don't like it. So,
Because it's a bad game. That's the
yeah.
gamble
So
you
how?
take
So
when
how
you
is it?
release
How
a
does that
product.
come? How does it become? How do you make a game a good game or a bad game? You can measure.
Well, how do you release a car that it drives,
Well,
it's
you
safe,
measure.
it's functional, it has
You
good
measure.
gas per mileage, but
Yeah,
people don't like the
measure.
design or
How
the
do you-
color? They don't like the way it looks?
Absolutely, you measure. How do you measure how fun a game is? Come on. That's the point. Is the same question as saying how do you measure how beautiful a painting is, or how do you measure?
Well,
how do you
I
measure
put it
how
to you
great a
like-
book
I
is?
put it to you
Where
like
is
this.
it? Where is
How
the?
can you
Where
get
are
to
the
that?
metrics for a book?
I would put it to you like this: before you can even get to judging a game on its fun factor, and I know you're going to say that's subjective, but before you can even get to that, what do you need? You need it to be functional. You need it to be. You need the mechanics to work, the graphics to work. You need a lot of things in place
There's a
before you
certain,
even get into.
yeah, that's right. There are certain things that you need, absolutely,
Right,
but they are
and,
not. But they
yeah.
are the easy bits.
If they're so easy, why do game devs keep fucking up the easy bits?
Because it keeps interfering with the fracking game design. Come on, that's what I'm trying to tell you. They have
So
to
you're
work
telling
together.
me that you sit down to develop a game and think, I want this to be artistic and emotional, and I'll think of the mechanics and the functionality later? That's
if you
ridiculous.
want me to teach you how video games are made, and I use the word teach because it's something you would have to actually put more effort into than a conversation can describe, okay? And you could believe me or not believe me.
Well, I'm trying to understand how you think this craft or this trade is somehow exempt from everything else that's ever existed.
It's not exempt, it's different. And I'm trying to explain why. And this I really would put some effort into because I think this is part of the real crux of the matter. How can you have respect for game developers if you don't know what the frack they're doing?
How can I have
you
respect
trust?
for any craftsman if I don't know what they're doing? I don't know how a fucking toaster is made. I'm not in the assembly plant at a car manufacturer, but I judge it based on the final product and its functionality and its value for money.
But toasters, in the end, they cost a certain amount of money, and then do they toast your bread or not? And it's pretty much ends up there.
Does this game play or not? Seems
What
like
does
a
it
very
mean to
easy
game?
standard.
When is the game finished? How long should the game be? Is a game that lasts 5 minutes
How about
a
does the
full
game
game? A game that lasts
Does it not crash?
function for
Does it
how
have
long?
glitches? Is
For
the
how
frame rate
long?
stable?
For
Is the
how long?
soundtrack work?
How long should the game be? Let's a hypothetical example of a game. How long should the game be? You tell me. How long? How many hours of gameplay should it have?
A game could be between 1 hour and 1,000 hours. That isn't my argument
no,
here.
but
My argument is before you get into the fun judgment, you need it to be functional.
I'm trying to explain, so either you're open to it or not.
I'm listening, but I'm not hearing much.
No, I know, but you really need to therefore listen. Because and I'm not trying to be sarky about that. I'm just saying, just try, because I think you tend to be very literal. And the problem is if you're trying to describe something that's difficult to describe in words, all right, which there are many things that are like that, then you really have to concentrate on trying to read between the lines.
Okay, I will listen to you, but I want to at least say this before you start, and then I'll be silent and let you say what you have to say. But this it's different and it's hard. All work is hard. All right, I know you may not think that. You may think you have a tougher job than other people, but that's a really
but that's
no. Let me finish. That's just bullshit. Nobody likes work. It's always difficult. Some people have a passion for the work that they do. Some people don't. But at the end of the day, work is work. Okay.
Do you want video games to exist?
I enjoy it as a hobby. Yeah.
You want them to continue to exist and to grow as a medium.
I don't know what grow as a medium means,
but
it
means
like
they grow. It means that they get more interesting. They become. How does grow mean? It means that they go places.
From a technical standpoint, like more pixels per screen. Like what are we talking about?
They entertain you in new ways. Is that what you want?
Well, I'm trying to imagine how they'd entertain me in new ways, but yeah,
that's the job of the designers to figure that out.
Oh, fantastic!
Right? Yeah. So is that what you want? All right. Then
sure.
If that is what you want, then you have to realize that unless you produce the same game that's been exactly produced before, the first step you take down that road is like the step into the off a cliff. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay? And this is where it's very, very different, because it's research and development pretty much all the way. Unless you make exactly the same game as has been made before, there's always uncertainties. And what you're looking for is some kind of magic mix. What you're looking for is a game that entertains, that grabs, that people play and they don't want to put down, that people feel satisfied with. There is no formula for it. It's not like making a toaster or a washing machine. That spark of creativity is the component that a game needs to have. And it's held in place with a technological framework that is rigid. And it's hard as hell to make the two things work together. So if you want to understand why video games are difficult to make, it's because of that. You've got the fluffiness.
I disagree with your point.
You disagree with it, but then, okay, disagree.
No, with your point that other industries don't grow. You don't think cars have evolved? You don't think new features have been implemented? Better engines have been entered? You don't think they walked off a cliff when they thought, I'm going to implement this new design feature and hope that people like it?
It's different because you're talking about the difference between creating a product and creating an experience. Come on. With video games, you sell experiences.
You can't sell off lies and failure as it's an experience, it's forgivable. That's bullshit.
It's not a question of selling off lies. It's a question of wanting to know the difference. Come on, you're being really stubborn. You want to know the difference between making a car and making a game.
Taken advantage of by game developers that think they can just use bullshit. I'm not saying you're doing this, but I'm sick of game developers using these.
Okay, but you're changing the subject. At the moment, we're talking about what's the difference between a car and a game.
Right. Yeah, well, you're trying to make it seem like this is nobody else experienced this new design technique.
I didn't say that. Come on, that's basic.
Yes, you did. You said it's different because you're throwing yourself off a cliff. You don't know. You need to start from
basic crap, straw man crap. There. Come on, you could do better than that. I'm not saying that because
you don't like the argument. That's straw man bullshit. People innovate all the time. Don't act like game development isn't some kind of crux because they're the only ones that have to do new shit.
No, that's not what I said. Either you want to understand the difference or you don't. It sounds to me that you don't, and there is the problem. That's why we have a problem between certain elements of the audience and game developers, because there's a lack of communication. I could just take a step back here and say,
innovative new experience
it's my
that you jumped
fault
off a cliff for.
Hang on.
And it's not the game that you wanted to make. So do you stop at that point? Let's say you're right about everything, that you made this new innovative experience, you took this huge risk, and you're going to release it, and you know your game is shit. Should you release it?
Sorry, could you say that again? Because
okay, let's say that you're right. Let's say that game development, software development, in this one particular genre is unique, that it has its own special difficulties not in any other industry, or that are at least slightly different or more burdensome than other industries.
Can I clarify that? It's just that it does exist in other industries too, but it is particularly, this clash is particularly difficult in video games. It really identifies the process.
Oh, okay.
And you either believe me or don't. If you don't believe me, we're done. Because I've been making games 40 fracking years. I know this to be true, right?
Okay,
I would love to be able to
I'm saying
show
let's
you.
assume you're right. Okay, so you go through this process of making a game. You pour your heart into it. You put all this investment in it, and then when the day comes to ship the thing, you know it's crap. It has bugs. It has glitches. It is a pile of shit. And you, as the developer, know that. Do you release the product?
Yeah, that's a big question, isn't it? Do you release the product? Well, most of the time, the game. If you let me answer, most of the time the game is canned before that happens. Okay, but let me tell you another thing that works. that's a story. No game is created in isolation. There is always the publisher, or the people who finance the game, or Sony, the console holder. The people making the game, they're not making it in isolation. People see the game and they say, this game is really cool. I can tell you that then you release the game and you think, well, it's been getting really good reception from everybody. And then it hits the market and then you find something different happens. This is a known thing. This happens. The point here being is that everybody was doing their best and thought they were delivering something good, and it hits the market, and then the market doesn't like it. And at that point, it gets difficult, doesn't it? Because you could turn around and say, well, should they have released at that time, or should they have released it later, or should they have this, or was it finished, or early access, or this, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I say about trust. Because although the scenario that you described, that cynical thing that you talk about, does exist in the industry and has, often at the expense of developers themselves. Vast majority of developers wouldn't ship something that was crap.
Really?
That's right. They wouldn't want to.
Really? You don't think they would ship something they knew had bugs, that they knew had problems?
Because we have pride in our work. I'm not saying it never happens.
How many day one patches have you seen recently? I mean, come on, be honest with me. You don't think they ship out buggy products?
Let's talk about day one patches.
Okay,
day one patches come from the pressures that are put in it's a problem with the process. It's not a problem with the developers. It's a problem with the process.
Are the developers a part of the process?
Yeah, they're part of the process, but it's a problem with the process. I mean, it's like I didn't say that that developers are exempt from it. I said it's a problem with the process. Come on, it means that the process needs to be fixed, and part of that process, we come all the way back to the fact that when a game is being developed, you want to generate hype, but you kind of need to. And you generate that hype by saying what you aspire to have in the game. And you make the game, and then you find that you have to pull features out for the reasons that I've talked about. Because you're not making a car, you're not making a washing machine, you're not making a toaster. You're making an entertainment product, the most complicated form of entertainment product that exists. There's nothing else that comes near it in terms of complexity. And you have to make tough calls. And then what happens is you have the pressure to ship by a certain date because there's a budget. The budget is running out. You have to pay for people. They have to earn a living. So you have to make a call. You make a call to ship the game, and you're going to patch it. If it's actually shipped in the shops, there's an additional problem which you might not be aware of, that you have to get the game in the shops. You have to deliver it 4 weeks ahead. So you then end up in a situation, you say, well, damn it, we need to get the thing out and we promised all this stuff, and now what are we going to do? We're going to ship it 4 weeks ahead. We're going to make sure it hits the shops, and we've got 4 weeks to do the first day patch, and then they're doing that, and they get the first day patch. Reality of video games, you want to fix it, you just get rid of the expectations. So that means that you don't promise anything. And that is where we're going. That's what the future brings. Because there isn't an appreciation of the process, what you will lose in the end is that people will not say anything about their games. There will be no early reviews, no previews, nothing. You just, one day, the game is ready, and up they come and they say, here's our game. And maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing.
This sounds like bad business practices. So you know this process exists, you know that this can affect the customer, you know they can get screwed over, but you don't say anything. Why? Because it's business?
1 second.
Yep. Take your time.
It's publisher.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. Sorry, you have to ask that question again.
Yep, that's fine. So what I'm saying is it sounds like bad business practices. If developers are a part of this process, if they're aware of this process, if they know that it can affect adversely the consumer by not getting the product they were promised at the shipment date when they go to the store to buy it, why are devs defending it? Why aren't they opening up and saying, you know what, I don't want to be associated with bad business practices. I value the consumer's dollar more.
You know what? First of all, stop treating the developers like they have it cushy.
I'm asking a simple, straightforward question.
And I'm answering.
You said they're part of the process.
Please, I'm answering it.
Okay, no.
All right, let me explain why. Let me explain why I said that. from what you were saying, you're making it sound like the devs are in control.
No, I'm asking why they don't say something if they know this is a bad business practice. Do you guys not give a shit about the customers?
Do you know that they don't say that?
So, okay.
Who have you talked to? Have you ever talked to a game developer like this before?
Has Sean Murray ever come out and said, we fucked up, the process was wrong?
I don't think Sean Murray really wants to say anything, because right now anything he says is going to get ripped apart no matter what he does. My question for you is...
You're saying he's a dev, a part of the process?
He's not going to say it now. But I'm quite sure that perhaps in the future, well, like I said, maybe when they released the game, they thought it would be all right. I've already been through that. Have you spoken to a game developer before?
Are you guys okay? So you're held captive. You can't speak out and say this is wrong. The company's pushing us to release the game. We shouldn't.
Sometimes that's the case.
Link me to somebody who's done that.
Can you answer my question? Have you had this conversation with a game dev before?
Yes, I've actually talked to game devs before. Yes, I have.
Am I saying anything you haven't heard before?
I've heard a lot about the process. I've heard a lot about how difficult they find it to be. I've heard a lot about deadlines and budget constraints.
Yeah, so you're fine. You're hearing it again. You're hearing it again, aren't you?
But a lot of the people I've talked to have some form of fucking integrity, and they wouldn't be a part of a process that hurts the consumer, because you're asking this. You keep talking about trust. This isn't a sleepover. We're not girlfriends giggling at a movie.
Okay,
I'm paying you money for a product.
Yes, exactly. Now, the point here is, right, that if you've heard that from other game devs, you will know that what I'm saying.
No, I've heard about the difficulties, but not the excuse making of why this is acceptable practice.
But who's making the excuses?
You just said that they're part of a process. They know they're shipping a game that can't live up to the hype. In some cases,
you've heard other game devs talking about the process, and then you went on to insinuate that I don't have any integrity or something, or did I misread you?
I said they have integrity. We're talking about hypothetical game devs that know the process is broken. That know the process is broken and go along with it.
Yeah. So this is what you do, right? What you do, if you're wise, is that you don't promise what you can't deliver, all right? And if you followed what I have been saying about my own game, you will know that I've applied this, because I passionately believe in that. So when people have asked me back in whenever it was, EGX, I was interviewed there, and they said, well, will you be able to play it online? Well, online play of my game, pretty damn fracking important feature, right? And I still didn't commit to it, because I wasn't 100% sure we could do it. I was 99% sure we could do it, and I still said, well, it's looking promising, but... Because I know from experience that is the case, okay? Now, I can do that because I really am very independent, and there's been no interference from the creative side, but that doesn't mean that I haven't also had a problem with deadlines, because there was a deal that required meeting a certain deadline. That's a reality that you get, by the way. You get a contract, you make a promise, you have to deliver the game by that deadline. These are realities. These are the problems of game development. And that's why I say it's process. And you have to figure out a good process. And it's actually very hard. And you can do your best, but just think about this for a minute. It's possible to make a mistake. So you lined up your process, and early on you say something, and you realize later it was a mistake to say or do a certain thing, and then you have to live with the consequences of it. So that's different, though, from being dishonest. That's actually making a mistake.
And I understand people make mistakes. I know nobody's infallible, but they're just gaming as a whole. We've seen repeatedly instances of games being shipped that were buggy or broken. We've seen on-disc DLC.
Agreed.
We've seen early access stuff. We've seen a lot of lives. So when you're talking about as a consumer, that's what I'm speaking as.
Yeah.
Why should I trust you? I'm not. This isn't a friendship. I'm buying a product from you.
But why should you vilify? There's a difference between,
because I got robbed, because I spent money on something that wasn't delivered. Why wouldn't I be upset about that?
There's always a bit of a risk of that. I mean, how many times have you gone to the cinema and seen a film and it was crap?
That's right. And you know what I do? I tell people it's shit, and then I don't go see another movie by that particular production company or that director, that producer.
That's all you can do. But that's a bit different from, going on the warpath.
Yeah, but does anybody say, no, you need to trust Warner Brothers that the next film's not going to be shit?
Well, I would say the risk involved in going to see a film is actually fairly small. One of the problems we have is that where games cost $60 or whatever, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, but when you're comparing costs from the production of a game and a production of a movie, there are movies that cost exorbitant amounts of money, and there's the tickets per sale to go see a movie are much less than a game.
Yes, I know. Games are overpriced. I think this is, if we were to really look at this seriously, I think that if we want to make it, if I paid $60 for a game and it was really rubbish, I wouldn't be happy. Okay, but that reality that we get, it's like there are crap games and there are crap movies, and maybe you've got to just have a little bit of a distinction here. You see, if you between different kinds of development, like if you go into a game by EA, you buy a game by EA and it's absolutely rubbish, and you're going around saying how rubbish the game is and how EA have behaved shabbily, for example.
Yeah.
You're attacking a company. Nobody is actually going to take that personally. If, on the other hand, it's a small company with individuals, you attack the individuals. This is another story. And sometimes individual gamers have been attacked for just wanting to make the game they wanted to make. And that is the thing that I'm talking about here.
You don't think that happens in film? You don't think that small production companies and art house films and indie filmmakers don't deal with that shit all the time? You don't think the backlash they get? Go read Rotten Tomatoes or the TV board. Watch Red Letter Media.
Yeah, but don't you get it? It's that there's a difference. It doesn't justify it, does it? I mean, it's like you can criticize a game for not delivering on its promise is one thing. But if a game doesn't entertain you the way you want to be entertained, it's a bit rich if that translates into abuse.
Okay, my counterpoint to that would be, who's promoted? The game doesn't promote itself. The game doesn't gain sentience and go onto Twitter and say, these are the features I have. It's usually who? The game developer that goes out there and promises people things. So when you're saying, why are they lashing out at this individual? Why are they targeting this person with their ire and their rage? Well, that was the person that said, this is how it's going to be, and we're going to deliver on whatever our promise is.
You're talking about No Man's Sky, but you keep missing the point, is that there are games that have been attacked just for being the kind of game that the developer wanted to make. And I'm talking about even small releases.
Yeah, and I'm saying there are comparable instances in other forms of entertainment.
And none of those are helpful, are they? None of those. And because I'm in video games, I care about the ones in video games.
Yeah, okay, but look at found footage. People think that's a shit genre. They think it's been done to death. They mock found footage movies. They mock the actors in found footage movies. They talk shit about the companies that make found footage movies. People are sick of zombie movies. They talk shit about zombie movies. Like, what I'm saying is, it's not some exclusive thing that only happens to game devs.
Yeah, but did I say it was?
No, but I'm telling you this because I think it's important to clarify.
With all due respect, what's the relevance to that?
Because I am a game developer. I don't want this idea. But I don't want you to get this idea that you're somehow off in the wilderness and this doesn't happen.
I'm not getting any such a flapping idea. What I'm doing is seeing what damage that this is doing. It's doing damage.
How is it doing damage?
How is it doing damage? I'll tell you how it's fracking doing damage. People are afraid to release their damn game.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
Wait, what do you mean afraid? Name one person who didn't release a game because they were afraid. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. This one will Half-Life 3.
Okay, really? You have a quote from Gabe Newell saying we're not releasing it because I'm afraid.
You go check.
I'm asking you. Brought it up.
They've actually said that they're not releasing Half-Life 3 because they're afraid of the reaction that it would get from fans that were passionate about the. Come on, and it's an example from obviously not an indie game developer.
So Gabe Newell's afraid. That's why Half-Life 3
You can laugh, but it's actually true. Go do the fracking research.
Okay, name another one.
Why name another one? That's enough for now. I could
Just
if
name
you
two.
want me.
Just give me two.
No, if you want me to do the research, I would have to spend time, and frankly, time
Well,
is not a luxury I have. I've given you an
fair
hour.
enough. I thought you had more examples.
I've given you, but you go look for yourself. All right, I can tell you that
I'm not the one making the claim, man.
I'm making the claim as somebody who's a game developer, and I can see what's happening. Okay, how do you think? How do you think I felt when I was going to release my game? My biggest concern, well, the nightmare was actually a nightmare that, in my case, transpired to be. And now, as more versions of the game, is what fills my mind. You know what I was. And I can only tell you how it is as a game developer. I'm going to release a game. I'm actually concerned about having to deal with people who don't like my game. But it's okay if they don't like the game. The problem is if they don't like the game, and then they go on a bloody campaign about it.
Okay, what do you consider a campaign? I've read the review scores on Amazon. I've read the stuff on Metacritic. Is that a campaign to you?
Well, who the hell knows? What I do know is that one of the reviews on Metacritic is from, because I've been told, is from well, it's a long, complicated story, but let's just say it's somebody who's been ripping off my own game. So it's like what
somebody with an axe to grind. I got you.
You know, but that's not the point here. The point here is because it's very easy to get sucked down into that and say, "Ooh, everybody's against me." That's not the point. The point is I can recognise when the reaction is healthy and when it isn't. I'm trying to tell you the reaction is not healthy. I'm trying to tell you that the disrespect for game developers. You might say there's a justification. I know this story. I know what you're saying. You know, okay, it's true that there are games that have been released that have really disappointed the audience. But we all need to figure this shit out. We need to figure out how we can, encourage developers to create new and original content and not intimidate them. You just don't buy the game. Say to people what you think of the game. I mean, of course, but don't start saying things like lazy game dev.
Oh, okay. You don't think this cuts both ways, though? You have a review up on Amazon for your game in particular where the person says, I don't own the game, I didn't buy the game, 5 stars.
Well, yeah, but that would be, that's a kind of a reverse troll, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Is that the publisher?
Well, wouldn't it be? It says, I haven't seen the game, I haven't played the game, give it 5 stars. What the hell? That's not valid. That's just a joke.
Okay, so how do you know the person saying die in a fucking fire 1 star isn't just a joke too?
Because it isn't. Because
okay, so positive
because
is
this comes
a joke,
down. This comes down to the whole thing about whether it's okay to disrespect, whether it's okay to whether saying such a thing like "go die in a fire" or whatever is abuse or not. And this is a very important thing here, a very interesting thing, because people who do what you do don't think it matters, but the people who feel the effects of it, to them it does matter.
Well, yeah, but this is okay. So there's a reality to the world, though. You can't expect to live in a bubble of niceness and safety where people don't say mean things to you. That doesn't happen anywhere.
Yeah. So is that your big plan for making the world a better place?
You want to know?
Seriously, man.
Okay, I'll answer you.
If you want to make the world,
I'll give you an answer.
If you want to make the world a better place,
I'll give you the. Yeah.
Would you like to do that?
You want my answer?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that there is a trend right now on social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook, YouTube, different things like that, where there is a almost top-down mandate to remove certain kinds of speech, to remove certain kinds of behavior, and that this falls even outside of what you would consider mean or trolling, that there might be a political agenda or there might be a political agenda or a financial agenda behind that behavior. So when I'm an asshole online, I'm doing it mostly, again, for my amusement, but it does serve a purpose. It does.
It's so you do stand for something.
No, I don't. It's
yes, you do.
Accidental. It's a secondary.
Oh, but effect. You stand for
but
it.
It's not the objective. It's not the objective.
But you still stand for it.
No, I don't. What I'm saying
sounds like you do.
I'm saying it's a
little bit.
Thing.
You stand for it. You stand for something a little. Do you think you make the world a better place?
I make my own world a better place because I have a lot of laughs.
So you make your own world a better place, but maybe at the expense of other people's world that is not so nice as a result.
Well, you bring up the idea of fascism and, this kind of Orwellian control over what people can do. But the way you want things to be sounds exactly like that. Don't be mean. Don't say these things. Everybody should be treated nice. You can never criticize in a certain...
Oh, that's not what I said. Look, mate, it's very simple. It's like... Because I have this kind of conversation with people frequently online, right? And there's maybe a number of people in your audience too who have a problem with this. It's very easy, right, to sort of suggest that it's somehow going against free speech and all the rest of it. What the problem that people have is not realizing that the way somebody feels is always real. And
so law should be built upon that?
Hey, you made a massive jump there.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Orwellian control.
You've gone from A to Z in like yeah. Okay. Well, the interesting thing is I don't know if that is the thing. Should a law? Probably, but then how? That's very difficult to sort out.
Well, let me ask you this.
So let me give you a guideline.
You're European, right? Let me give you an example. Yeah. Merkel recently, I think 3 months ago, their police force arrested numerous people across the country for what was described in the papers in Germany as illegal right-wing opinions.
Yeah, so it all depends on the definition of illegal.
No, I think it really depends on the part that really grabs me is the opinion part of that. That having an opinion, an illegal opinion.
A legal opinion, well, okay, but then you that could be lost in translation. If you're saying a legal opinion, it's an ambiguous word. It can mean actually somebody expressing an opinion or somebody having an opinion. So if you express an opinion and it's illegal, that's different from having.
Okay, but what I'm asking you is, you don't find that absurd that expressing an opinion, saying something you think is illegal?
It's the problem here is that it depends on the definition of what is illegal. It's meaningless unless you check that. It's very easy. It's very easy to jump on that and say, but I mean, it depends. I mean, let's be honest. Even in America, there are certain things that you can't say because they're illegal.
I can tell you one thing I can say right now in America. The Holocaust didn't happen. But if I said that in Germany or England or France, I could be fined or put in prison.
Sure. If you're in the lineup at an airport and you joke about having explosives on you, that's illegal. Mm-hmm. Right.
But I'm asking in this context.
Every country has its own rules on this, right? So clearly it's not possible to have a world where you can say anything. Right? We agree? Not possible.
No, I believe in unfettered speech.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you go into the world where you believe in unfettered speech, there is a problem.
What's the problem?
The problem is accountability.
How is it? How am I not accountable for what I say?
Well, that's the point is, how are you accountable for what you say?
You can't come up and say, don't say that. You can't argue the point with me. You can't give a rebuttal or a retort to what I've said. Are you prohibited from?
Not if what you've said has intimidated me to the point that I don't feel able to.
So you're saying words are so powerful that we should just not say certain ones in certain combinations because somebody might be intimidated, and being intimidated is a subjective thing. So
yes,
what words and combinations do we say can't be said?
That's why you can't really put a law in, but what you can do is have a philosophy for it. So I've had this discussion many times with people, certain people who refuse to accept, and this as a game dev as well, when I've expressed how I feel about something, and they have denied my feeling. So someone does something to me, and as a result I feel a certain way, and then I say to them how I feel, and they deny that. They deny me the right to feel it. And
so is disagreeing with you denying how you feel? Like, you could tell me how you feel, but I don't agree with it. Does that deny you?
You cannot disagree with how someone feels.
You tell me that you feel upset. I say, you have no reason to be upset. You're being silly. I've just denied how you feel.
Yes, that's right. That's wrong. I know. You'll find it first. I've had this conversation. I've had this conversation before, and this is, if you want to know, is you've got a blind spot, and other people too. Blind spot. It's like, for me, it's as clear as day. You can't see it. We will probably never agree on this point because you can't see it. right? I can only try by giving an analogy, all right? So it's like if you kick me in the leg and it hurts me, and I say to you, "Oi, you kick me in the leg, it hurts." You can't deny my reality.
I
Right?
can disagree with it and
Oh,
say,
how you
toughen
can't.
up, pussy.
You
Man
don't
up.
know. You don't know whether it hurts
I'm
or
not
not.
saying that. Yeah,
I'm the
you've
only
told
one
me
who
what
knows
your
whether it
opinion
hurts.
is. Yeah, but you've told me what your opinion is, and I'm laughing at
It's
you and
not
saying,
my
man the fuck up.
opinion. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. That's the bit that you get confused on. You think it's an
How
opinion.
is your
It's not.
subjective opinion a fact?
It's
How
not a
is your
subjective.
feelings fact?
No, it's not a subjective opinion if it's how you feel. Look, mate, if I say to you, I feel pretty pissed off right now,
Yeah.
that's my reality.
No, you don't. You love me.
Right? No, that would be my reality. That was just a hypothetical
love me,
example.
admit it.
It's a hypothetical example. If I say how I feel, you cannot logically disagree with me because you cannot know. I could be lying, but you cannot know.
So if I told you it makes me feel upset when you disagree with me, would you agree with everything that I said from this point on?
No, I would just take into account that it makes you upset and that I'd have to make a call on whether I care, whether I upset you or not.
So you can make a judgment value on whether you care about my feelings or not.
I cannot deny your feelings. If I say something to you and you feel hurt by it, and then you tell me that you feel hurt by it, I
Yeah.
cannot deny that. And to
okay.
try and deny it is actually where the problems start. To try and deny it is the most fascist thing of all, probably.
Okay, let's follow up on this. So I tell you that if you disagree with me, it hurts my feelings. It makes me sad in my heart. And you have to make a value judgment from that point on whether you disagree with me or not on future discussions. But when you finally disagree with me on something, you know that that hurts me. So are you denying my feelings?
No, it's not to deny the feelings. It's to do it again. It's not to deny the feelings, but then I know what I'm doing.
Oh,
Hey,
okay,
this is-
so
you
should
say
you
man
do it or
up.
not?
You know what, mate? I hear you use the phrase, it's like man up. So I'm
Yep.
turning that on. You man up. Because to really be, right, a man or a woman, to really be an adult, right, that's what you really have to juggle with, is that complexity, that you say something and that someone is upset by it, and they say to you that they're upset by it, and then you have to decide what to do next. But you do it understanding that if you say it again, you'll upset them again, and then you have to accept that that was a choice that you made and that you are now deliberately hurting them. And sometimes you have to deliberately hurt someone in order to help them. So what the frack do you do? It's the same thing with doctors, all right?
Well, so, I
Sometimes you
mean, should
have
we
to
walk
hurt-
on eggshells?
Sometimes
Like,
no.
You know what
No.
is
No,
what
I
is the
didn't say
reality
that.
of taking everybody's feelings into account? I
The
have to
reality
watch everything
is
I say and behave because I might hurt
the
someone.
reality of taking everybody's feelings into account and being aware of them is that you make the world a better place.
No, you allow yourself to be wrangled. You
No,
allow yourself to be
you
subjected
don't.
to their
You still-
feelings and their
No,
opinions
you
on
still
how
do
you
what-
behave.
No, you still do what you want to do, but you do it knowing the consequences.
Okay, but yeah, I guess this gets back to my original point is, okay, so I know that you're upset by what I say. Why should it matter to me?
Because I'm a fellow human being, mate.
We're all fellow human beings. There are
Yeah,
kids
so
starving in
we
Africa. I'm
should-
not sending my paycheck to them.
We're all we're all human beings, right? And we should all care about how each other feels. Don't you? I mean, come on, mate. When you stop caring about how other people feel, that's where the rot sets in.
I'm not denying that taking people's feelings into account has merit. I'm just arguing the point that I think we've reached an era, I guess, I don't know how you'd say, an age, whatever you want to say, where people become hypersensitive and hyper in tune with their feelings.
I would agree with that. There is a hypersensitivity. I agree. And that is a little bit worrying too. But if you want to fix it, then we have to just go back to basics, and the basics are everybody has a right to feel the way they feel.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that you can't feel how you feel, but you're acting like my response to it or what I say somehow undoes the reality that you're saying exists. If you really truly believe that your leg hurts when it gets kicked, me telling you to man the fuck up and it doesn't hurt that much doesn't undo the reality. So how is that, like negating how you're feeling?
Yeah, because it doesn't undo the reality, but it also turns the victim into the perpetrator. If you come on, this is basic bullying, which I'm quite sure you're fully averse in, all right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
right. So basic principles of bullying. Go up to somebody, kick their leg, they go, ow. You tell them they're being a baby and man the hell up, all right? And so in that way, you have turned the victim into the into it being their own fault.
How does telling them man up make them the perpetrator? They didn't kick themselves.
You don't have the right to say that because you're the one who actually inflicted the harm.
You have every right to say whatever the fuck you feel like saying.
No, you don't. Not in that situation. I think
yes, you do. What are these unwritten rules you're finding?
No, this is called acting with respect. Something that is a shame that more people don't have.
Respect is earned, not given. You don't just get it for existing.
Yes, you do.
No,
at a
you
certain
do
level.
not.
All right, so basically you're saying to me that it's okay for you to go up to any person in the street who you don't know, who hasn't earned, they haven't earned your respect, to kick them in the leg and then tell them that it's their own fault.
Yeah, I'll do a stream later today where I go around kicking random people for the fuck of it. Sure, why not?
Yeah, well, you see, but that, for me, tells me the measure of who you are.
Okay,
right?
I run streams
it
like that.
It tells me the measure of who you are. Okay? And I put it to you that if everybody behaved that way, the world would be not a better place.
And well, we're talking about a hypothetical.
No,
Two,
we're not. It's become quite real because you just said...
Have I kicked anyone?
You just said you were going to go do a stream.
I love that you have that much faith in me that anything I say you'll take as literally going to happen.
Well, what's the point of opening your mouth if you're going to lie all the time?
Well, we're not discussing a hypothetical? You don't think that I'm making
Did you just lie to me?
Yeah, that was a joke. I was pointing out how...
that's an interesting one, is how do we tell the difference between a lie and a joke?
Do people laugh afterwards? Pretty simple.
Well, that's funny, because that's also another bullying tactic, isn't it? It's the one you go and do something that hurts... You do something that hurts somebody, and you go, it's only a joke. Is that telling the truth, or is that a lie? Is it okay to tell a lie if it's just a joke?
Okay. Okay, let me.
Because you're very hot.
What you say.
You're very, very hot on the whole subject of lying. I noticed because every bit there. So I put it to you.
Hey, quid pro quo, give and take. You want to lie to me, I'm going to lie to you, right? Fair is fair. We're having an equal and open debate. If you're going to lie to me, you've done that twice now.
I do not.
I'm going to lie to you.
I'm not deliberately or intending to lie, and I do my best to avoid that.
I'm not deliberately trying to lie.
But if you tell a lie as a joke, that is a deliberate lie that is justified because you're just joking.
Okay, so if I tell you the farmer's daughter joke about a guy that sleeps over at at a farm.
Yeah, but that's fine. But you know the kind of thing.
Well, no, have I lied about the farmer? I mean, my God, I've done a dishonest thing setting up that premise, right?
Yeah, well, but there are those jokes that are designed to hurt somebody, and then it's just brushed off because it was just a joke.
So do you think, I'm asking you honestly now, do you think I'm going to go do a stream after I'm done talking to you where I go around kicking people?
I have no idea because I don't know enough about you.
Okay. All right. This is absurd.
Is it? You find it?
Yes,
you do?
It's absolutely absurd. You want to we've gone off topic, but I guess it is related. I don't think that you, because you're a software developer, or even if you're not a software developer, have some right to live in a bubble. People are dicks. Welcome to fucking reality. I know you don't like the way the world is, but that is the way the world is. Rather than saying we should have some fantastic utopian vision of what reality is, maybe we should prepare people to deal with what actual reality is.
No.
Rather than telling them to
I think that's bullshit.
and be afraid and be scared, we should teach them to have some fucking courage, to have some balls, and to brave up.
Complete and total bullshit. I can tell you what we don't need. What we don't need are laws, probably, because the law doesn't work for this field. What we need, right, is respect.
And again, this goes back to you don't get respect just because you exist. You're not special.
That's in your world.
You earn it.
That's in your world.
Yeah, my world is shared by a majority of people, I would say.
Well, actually, if that's true, then we're all dead. We're all doomed.
We're still alive and kicking.
But how much longer, we'll never know. Look, mate.
Do you know what the past was like? Like, are you kidding? Do you think people were nice and hugging each other for the last 40,000 years of human development?
We know what's in the history books, okay? But the history books
still here, aren't we? We persevered and innovated, didn't we?
Yeah, I know, but now, look, yeah. Well, we'll see. But look, mate, you're not going to make the world better by putting in regulations. And you're not going to make the world better by pretending that that you can say and do what you like.
And you're not going to make the world better by setting up a safe space for everyone where they can be coddled. Because they have to turn the computer off at some point and go out into the real world.
Yeah, but it's like safe space, coddled, always going to one extreme to a fracking.
No, that's what it is. It's a safe space, is it not? Where you cannot be told something that upsets you. That's what you want, is a fucking safe space.
No, it's not what I want. What I want is there to be a language of respect, where respect is a value that is held by the group, society, culture, community, whatever.
Respect is earned based on character, not based on existence. That is a ridiculous notion.
No, it's not a ridiculous. Of course, it's not a ridiculous notion, because, as I've said, if you don't believe that respect it should be there as a default, a certain level of it. I mean, obviously, you build the respect.
So everybody has a default level of respect.
There should be. There's the fact that they're a human being.
So you respect Hitler.
Well, I said as a base level.
Right? Yeah, okay. Well, you have a base level of respect.
It basically means there is a human being, and for being a human being, you get an automatic certain amount of respect.
Right.
The kind
so you
of
have
respect
a certain amount
that
of
means
respect for Hitler and
that
his
means
feelings.
that a YouTube personality is not going to come up to you in the street and randomly kick you in the leg and tell you that it doesn't hurt, because you haven't earned their respect, right?
Okay, so so Hitler deserves a basic level of respect.
Well, he did when he was born, but then we live, Hitler
Is
as
there
a
a
baby
time
before
limit?
he did it. Well, I don't know really, does it? It depends on what you do. So it's actually we're not in that much disagreement, except for one thing, which is that in your world, nobody deserves any respect at all.
If they earn it, they do. If they earn that respect, they do.
Until you know anything about them.
Right, because you're a stranger to me. Why should I give you respect as a default? I don't know a fucking thing about you. You could molest kids for fun.
I'm a human being. It's that basic respect that stops you from abusing people.
I don't abuse you. I just don't interact with you. You're a non-entity to me.
Yeah,
I've
if you
never
don't
met you
interact
before.
with me, then that's absolutely fine, right? But it's not personal, you and me. I'm talking about in the world out there. Basically, look at what happens. You've got people are being treated disrespectfully, right, by people who don't know a damn thing, or let's say completely sum up their view of a person on the basis of some kind of data point.
Well, what else are they supposed to base that respect? Oh, okay, all I know is by what you present. So going back to our game dev discussion, even not just Sean Murray and Hello Games, but any game dev, let's say, if you sell a product and it's a crap product, that's what I know you on. So I should have a base level of respect because you're a human?
That's your view. And I'm not denying your reality, by the way. That's the way you view it, okay? And I happen to disagree
with your reality and your view.
Well, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that's the way that you feel.
The way you feel is...
Well, I feel a different way, or I have a different perspective about it. But, the whole point of talking and sharing a perspective is in this often, deluded hope that somebody's going to shift. And a lot of the time we don't. But this is, look, we're kind of off track here. It's like there should be, just in the same way as there should be a basic respect between human beings, which I hope leaving the trolling, I like to just say any old shit side of you, which is sort of like thing, that behind that, I would hope you appreciate. There is a similar thing that should exist within video games, which is not, even if a video game developer creates a game that's universally panned, right, some level of respect needs to be given for them having made it, depending on the context. So if you've got somebody who's released their first video game, they're a new game developer, they release their first ever video game, they put it up on Steam or somewhere else, other place, Itchy or whatever. They put it up on there, and people come along and they play the game and they don't like it, and they start posting, this game is shit.
Yeah.
I consider that to be disrespectful, because what they're missing out is the fact that this, they could say, yeah, I didn't like the game, here's why. That would be constructive criticism. right?
That's your view of what constructive criticism
That is
They're
my
upset.
view.
Yeah, but they're
That's my
upset
view.
because they paid money. They didn't
Well,
get the game
yeah,
for free.
but the truth is that it's done even when the game is free, mate. Come on. I've seen it happen even when the game is free. Or if you look at the culture, go on YouTube. I mean, how many
No, this is
do
a
people
rose
get
by
to
any
their-
other name argument. You're saying you don't like the criticism because it's not nice enough for you.
No, that's
but
not
it's
what I
still
said.
criticism. It's still valid. If the game is shit, the game is shit.
And it's because there's such a thing as respectful criticism and unrespectful criticism.
That's what I just said. You don't like the way it's said.
No, it's not. Well, is it the way it's said? When you put it that way, it sounds a bit lame, but that's not really what I am saying. What I'm saying is that you can interact in a respectful way.
And I'm saying if you're a customer that just spent money you worked for on a
it's
shit
harder.
product, you have a right to be angry.
Yeah.
You're a customer that got robbed. You have every damn right to be irate
I mean,
about it.
okay, then take it. I would say take it up with them. You know, it's like take it up with the where you bought the game. Ask for your money back. Complain to the developer. But that's a very different thing from going on to Twitter and proclaiming to the entire world this game is utter shit.
Oh, okay. Well, who sold me
know.
the game? Was it Walmart that developed the game, or was it the game dev that made the game?
Well, you know what I mean. Go and talk to. Usually, the developers are very accessible, especially indie game developers. But
You
it
just
does
said they don't
depend.
want to talk to people because they're intimidated.
Well, that is one of the dangers of the intimidation, that they will stop talking. Yes.
Okay, well,
I'm
I'm
trying
just
to,
going
like
to
I'm
be real
talking
with
to
you.
you.
As a
I mean,
customer,
flipping-
I don't buy any of this, and I don't think a lot of people do. And I think
Well,
people are
buy
starting to
what?
get really fucking tired of being taken advantage of. and I
Yeah,
think
but
if you
you
think
can
this
do
behavior
that.
is bad, you haven't seen anything yet, because consumers have had enough.
Yeah, well, okay, but you know what? If you want to go, if you haven't seen anything else, blah 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 blah. Then
Yeah, that's
I
right.
tell you what will happen in the end is nobody will make games anymore.
Bullshit. Don't act like you're a special snowflake that nobody else can do your job. Plenty of people can. Plenty of people will step up to the plate and say, I can handle the banter and make a fucking game.
Bullshit.
But not bullshit.
Yeah, that is bullshit.
Go take a look at Greenlight. How
Let
many
me-
games you see being made by indie devs right fucking now that didn't
Yeah.
take the place of other people that fucked up and failed?
Yeah, well, I don't know. You tell me. What
A
I
lot.
know,
Fucking
what I
thousands
know,
and thousands.
what I know about the reality of it is that making a video game is like a performance these days. You have to get up on the stage. So you tell me, if you're watching somebody do a performance, you're going to get up in that auditorium and boo at them while they're performing.
If their performance is shit, yeah, I'm going to say, this sucks, and I'm going to leave.
Yeah, that's different, saying this sucks and leaving, to actually standing up in the auditorium and booing.
People boo all the time. You've never heard an audience boo at a performance?
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Do you think
come on.
that? Well, I don't know, because I'm over here at the other side of the world. So over here, there is an understanding that you have to have respect for the fact that the person has got on the stage and is performing. So, you know, I don't
because
know.
that's just a given, because there's something magical about standing on a stage
No,
that
it's
makes
cool.
you need
But
respect.
do you know why it's a good idea? Because in the end, people become afraid to get on the bloody stage. Right? So, but that's the way I see it. You see it a different way.
Well, yeah,
by all means.
if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah,
if
but
it's
see,
so
that's
damn,
what you
if it's so damn
guys are
destroying, don't
always
do it.
saying. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. It's like, God, so boring. It's like you can't. If you want to see great games, encourage the fracking game developers.
I'm not
And-
here to hold your hand and tell you you're wonderful. I'm here to pay you money for a product that you made that isn't shit. If it's shit, I'm going to say your game is shit and you failed at what you tried to
Yeah, I
accomplish.
understand that, and it's a great way to go if you want to ensure that. If, in my opinion, that's a great approach if you want to ensure that you start to erode the creativity within the industry. And it's a difficult subject. Look, I'm not trying to dismiss this. It's a very, very difficult subject, okay? And in the end, the only answer is this thing that is totally alien to you, in my opinion, because I don't think you actually understand what respect is.
I don't think you understand what the simple concept of good business practices are.
Well, you don't have the right to tell me about good business practices. in
I
video
absolutely
games.
do if I'm
No,
buying
you
your
don't.
product.
You do
Yeah,
not.
I do. If I
No.
bought your game and it's shit, I'm going to tell you it's shit.
You can tell me it's shit, but that's not the same thing as telling me how I should run my business.
If you don't want me to tell your game is shit, maybe you should listen to the customer when they tell you you're fucking up.
Yes, but as I've told you, people do not deliberately try to fuck up. Everybody's trying to do their best.
Hey, you want to talk? This goes back to this trust thing. I don't know what makes you think software devs are some special, institution that deserves trust, and the consumer should believe their bullshit.
Yeah, then if
I'm
you want to
judging it
carry on
based
like
your
that,
action.
if you carry on like that, eventually people will quit.
So what? There's always somebody to replace them. Again, I don't. You have this
But then the
preconceived
industry
notion.
won't move forward because people will quit
Do you think that there's never been harsh criticism before? Go look at the old news groups from the 90s and the 80s.
Bloody hell, you're talking to somebody who's been criticised.
Good, then, okay, well, then you know what it's like.
So I know all about it. You don't have to lecture me about being tough. You don't have to lecture me about any of that.
Well, apparently I do, because you have this idea that you keep telling people that we need to teach them special.
You have the idea that just because I am talking about topics such as respect and, understanding and trying to appreciate.
I don't want to understand you. I want the game that you made not to be shit. I paid you money for it.
Because you confuse that, so you think that because I talk about these things, I'm somehow kind of weak. And
no, you want me to be nice about it. Instead of saying your game is shit, say, well, oh gosh, golly gee, he should have done better next time, but I have faith in him.
What I want you to do is understand the consequences of what you do. That's what I want. I want you to understand. Well, I don't think you can.
And I'm telling you, you guys need to get over this idea that you can't take criticism and that you're somehow stuff. You're fucking not.
I didn't say that. That's your words. That's your agenda.
That's what I'm basing. I'm basing it on the shit that you've been telling me.
It's your story. My one's a very simple one. Is that if there ain't no love, you ain't going to get anything good.
And if your game is shit, you're not getting money.
Yes, but that takes care of itself.
Yeah, it does. So the ones that are crap fold up and die, like they should. Welcome to business. If your game is shit, you should go under.
Good, fine, all right. Well, but what doesn't work is that lack of love, appreciation.
I don't fucking love you. I just want a game that's not shit.
Asking for that. I don't think you're. Yeah, come on. I don't think I really want you to, frankly.
I'm not here to be your fucking friend. I just want to buy a product that's not crap. How hard is that to understand?
So let's see how we can make this work for you.
Okay.
Right? Because you're saying very clearly what you want.
Yeah, just a product that delivers what it says.
Delivers what it says. Okay.
Yeah.
So how can we achieve that?
By by fulfilling your promises, by not lying. That'd be a great start.
Making promises. So that's the first one.
By fulfilling your promises and not lying.
Nope. Because I've already told you.
Okay, you don't want to make promises?
I already told you. There are too many.
Okay, here's the second condition. Don't release a broken game.
Yeah, okay, great. Then we need to ensure that games will be, actually that problem needs to be addressed by addressing processes within the industry.
Fantastic. Go tell Bobby Kotick to fuck off, and that you're going to make the game, and when the game is good, it'll be released.
Well, yeah, of course, that you have to also survive. It's like you have to actually sort of still be earning a living and still be able to feed yourself or the people that give wages to people who are working for you. So, but in principle, yes, you have to figure that out. That's the difficult part, by the way. So if you have a game dev and there are 30 people working at the game dev and you have to decide whether you let them all go or you do a first day patch. Yeah, okay. The day that you're in that position, then maybe you would, have some kind of moral right to pontificate about it.
Well, if you don't like the process, don't be a part of it. Go get another job, one where you don't have to fuck your consumer over. Go make movies. Go write books.
Well, but go make movies. Go make books. Yeah, go do something simpler. But isn't that what I said? I said people just, in the end, just frack off, weren't they?
Well, fantastic. Then they're not robbing customers. That's great. I'm happy about that.
And then that's what you want. I mean, in the end, you get what you want.
Yes, I want con artists to fuck off. Yeah, you're right. I want con artists to get the fuck out of the industry.
Yeah, that's right. So what needs to be addressed there is something to fix that impression that you get that the industry is full of con artists. Because
when I buy a product that's broken, why I buy a product that isn't.
I understand that. There needs
is
to be
that not a con? Have I not been conned into giving you my money on a lie?
Well, it depends whether it's really a lie or not.
I don't give a shit what's your subjective opinion on it. I was told one thing and I didn't get what I was told. I was fucking conned.
Yeah, well, that's the easy bit to deal with, but then you've got the one of when, you have the subjective assessment of the game. And I could tell you already, because I already know how this works. Let's just say that we fast forward into a world where these problems, and I'm not saying the problems don't exist. I've just said the easiest way to fix it is just not to hype games at all, right? Not to show anything about say anything about what's in the game until it's released. But let's just fast forward to a world where this is fixed. Well, you know what? If it's not that, then it's going to be worrying about the quality of the work, where it becomes subjective. And the reality of it is in video game development, you have to deal with the hard and fast stuff, and you also have to deal with the subjective stuff.
That's fine. Deal with the subjective stuff when you get the bare bones, essential, honest components of it fixed.
Can't be done.
You're telling me you can't fix a process and you can't get it to where you're not lying to the customer.
Generally, no, that's not what I said. What I said
You said it can't be done.
No,
I said fix the bare bone
clarify.
things.
Do you want me to clarify what I said can't be done?
Clarify.
What you were suggesting is that it's possible to get the basic features done and then ensure that the game is, say, entertaining. So
No, I said deal with the subjective criticism after you make sure that the game you're selling functions the way you said it will and has the features you said it will.
Yes, right. So that's what I'm saying, is that the stuff that is measurable, right, interacts with the stuff that's subjective interacts with the stuff that's objective. It's the nature of the game, right? And because of that interaction, it's not so easy. I understand what you're saying, and I wish it was that easy, but it really isn't that easy.
I don't want to hear about how hard it is. I don't care when I'm giving you my money how fucking hard it is.
I understand that you're fracking well fed up with that. That's why I said the best way of solving the problem is no pre-orders, no reviews beforehand. The game is just released, and there you go. Okay, because then there's no promises. Everybody can ensure that what's put on the box is exactly the same as what is in the game. Well, it won't be in the box because you'd have to wait another month. So it would be online only. And what is written on the blurb is exactly what is delivered. And that problem has gone. And that is a solvable issue. That is entirely solvable. And
fantastic. I'd love to have game news be like a newswire where the only information you get is so-and-so is developing a game, nothing else.
Yeah.
We're working on something. That's the news we have for you.
Yeah, that's it. And that I think would be great. And that would solve your problem entirely. And there's nothing really wrong with that. And in fact, it would be nice, I think, if it went that way, because it would solve a lot of it. Of course, it wouldn't help with what happens after the release, because what you will get then is still certain sections of the audience jumping up and down as they start complaining about this or that of the game and doing all this other kind of stuff. But at least your point could be addressed. All right. So so we've actually reached, I think, a conclusion here. First one is that's the way to fix this problem in the video game industry. Right.
Yeah, stop lying and deliver on your promises.
No, it's not. Okay, you like to use the word lying. But
what else is it when you say one thing is going to happen and it doesn't happen? Is that not a lie?
Well, okay, it's to do with the intent. The intention was not to deceive you. But that's what happened. Okay, can I just make it clear?
Fine,
it's rather like you
didn't mean to lie to me, but it happened. I get you.
Yeah, it's easy. It's like, oh, I kicked you in the leg. Oh, you're hurt. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Wasn't actually what I intended. Okay, which then
except in that example, I'm not giving you $60 for the privilege of you kicking me in the leg.
Yes, I understand that. God, you have to go on about it. We got that.
Yes, because I want to be at home that the customer is getting fucked. That this isn't some hypothetical philosophical conversation. I'm exchanging money for goods.
Yeah. I get that. You're exchanging money for your entertainment, because in the end, that's what's happening. People are entertaining you. You're giving the money. You want to be entertained. Hey, look, and that's how that can be solved. So are we good on that? That's how to solve that. Then the second point is how does it happen? You like to call it lying. You could say that technically, although it would need to be seen in every case, it could be, the point here is that people, when it happens that features are taken out of a game, it happens because of reality that was exposed during the development process. And either you believe me or you don't, that making video games is that tough that you have to do it. And I would love it if there was a little bit of education so that the audience could understand that. But maybe they don't need to understand that if we simply don't say anything about the game before it's released. Then they don't care, right? Then it doesn't matter. But if you are interested in why it is that a game has to change its course during development, watch a video game developer make a game and you will see why. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do every night here, making my game in front of people. Why? Because I want to be honest and fracking open. Even with my release, people could see the state of the game from April. So they could always see what was they could always see what was going to be delivered. They could see me actually making the final build. When the build was done, they saw me actually, when the launch happened, they saw the launch here. I'm trying to address that way as well, which is the one of being completely open and honest, maybe giving some aspirations for the product, but always saying, look, there's no guarantee for this, and if you're interested, you can see how it's working out, right? I mean, that's it. That's what I'm trying to do. So I appreciate that. And for me, that's very important to try. It doesn't mean I'm always perfect, or that some people might not feel misled. But you know what? There are people who complained in the case of my game about being misled, but they didn't actually understand the material that was out there. So it actually depends on what you also see and what you're also exposed to. And maybe it's important that there's a little bit of trust that goes around, so that people don't immediately jump to conclusions, so they don't just sort of react to what somebody else has said, but actually go and do a little bit of research, before they say something, that's untrue. And there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
I'd prefer more game devs were open.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Well,
I'd love
open.
if they were more open about their development.
Well,
if they
good.
Yeah,
that's what
I like game devs being more
that's
open.
That's what I try to do. But I can tell you from my own experience that just because you're doing it, it doesn't mean that people are going to be listening. They'll still cook up their stories.
Yeah, and my response to that is people in every industry, no matter what they do, will always take heat from either informed or uninformed idiots.
Sure,
you need to learn to deal with it.
Yeah, well, no, I don't need to learn to deal with it, because
if you want to function as a human being, you do.
Do not need to learn to deal with it, because I already came up with a strategy for dealing with it, also a strategy for dealing with myself. But I'm just making the point, and you can either accept it or you can't, or you either accept it or not. The point that it's also a choice for the people in the audience how they behave. And really, if you behave better, you will in the end get better games. And by behaving better, I don't mean not being negative. I don't mean not being negative if things don't work, but it's a case of being constructive with it. Constructive criticism versus abuse. Ultimately, that's the balance here. I'm not the only one who calls some of the things that have been going on abuse. You have abuse,
there may be other people that do too. It doesn't make them right. You could have a whole chorus of people singing that it's abuse. Doesn't mean that it is.
Yeah, but that's how you decide whether or not it's abuse is something we all have to do together. And I can tell you it's very difficult to do that when the loudest voices are the ones who are hurling abuse, and it causes other people to be afraid to speak out.
The loudest voices always are the ones that are hurling abuse.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't think I deal with that, with the shit I do? Yeah, I do it for fun, but yeah, I get shit all the time. You fucking shake it off and you move on.
Yeah, but like I said, you're not standing for anything. I am.
Okay, so if you're standing for something, it makes it use more?
If you're standing for something, it's harder. You wouldn't know because you don't stand for anything.
Oh, okay, so we got two gay guys, right? One gay guy is an activist, one isn't. If I call them both faggots, you're telling me it doesn't upset them equally? Because one's not standing for activism?
I don't know, you'd have to ask them.
I'm saying it's a ridiculous premise to act like you can't just learn to fucking deal with it. Like, if your behave will give you better games. No, how about if I give you money, you give me better games?
Yeah, look, keep going around. It keeps going around in circles here.
Because it's money. It is a business.
We covered that. It's dealt with.
Okay, but
as a game developer, I'm being open, and I think we will see more game developers being open. We're not going to see more developers being open, though, if the audience is going to be chucking bloody crap all the time.
Well, shit for them.
No, it's up to you. Do you want game developers to be more open?
No, it's up to you. No, do you want my money?
I'm asking, you said you wanted game developers to be more open. You'd like that. You said that.
No, I said I want them to be more open if they want my fucking money.
Oh, you want them to be more open if you want your... Right, okay. Well, I can tell you why game developers... some people have called me mad for doing what I did. What did I do? Getting on and continuing my stream. Do you know how much... Do you know it's not easy when
Life isn't easy, I understand.
Fucking hell. Yes, life is not easy. Okay, so just dismiss what I'm about to say. I think because
you keep coming back to this idea that you should be given respect, and if we give you respect, we'll get better games, and you'll be more open. I'm saying no. It should be the default of the industry for you to make good games and be open. That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't work that way. It's like
I'm telling you, as a customer, it should work that way. And if it doesn't end up working that way, you guys are going to lose money.
If you've got a football team, and the whole crowd just boo them all the time, do you think it's going to improve their performance?
If there's a football team, does a football team suck?
Is it going to improve their performance?
I'm asking you, is the reaction they're getting because they suck at the game?
It doesn't matter, whatever their level is.
It absolutely does.
Whatever level it is, do you think it's going to make them perform better?
Again, this goes back, are they shit at the game?
Are they going... It doesn't matter. Whatever level they are. It's not going to ever... It never makes anybody perform better.
Do you think the amount of abuse a dev gets is not dependent on the product they produce?
It's not a linear relationship.
We're talking the difference between a stadium booing that team because they're shit at the game and one or two assholes booing the team because they just don't like them.
Yeah, I'm just making a point. So if you believe in the power of booing, keep booing. If you
I believe in the power of the dollar, and that's where I spend my money.
I'd have to say we spent like 2.5 hours nearly on this, so we're going to have to start wrapping because I actually need to get on because this is actually development time.
That's fair enough.
I'm taking up. Right. But I just say, mate, if you have a choice right now, I'm going to give you a choice. What you're going to do to help me in my work as a game developer. You can choose to encourage me, you can choose to boo me. So which is it going to be?
I'll encourage you when you make a good product and I'll give you my money. That's my encouragement. You're profiting off of me as your encouragement.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine. So what's with the thing where you're dragging out all of the reviews on my game when I criticized your tweet?
Why did I bring up your game? Because you're defending a developer that made a shit product and people were upset about. And then when I went and looked at your game, it had a ton of reviews, people saying that it was buggy, that it was bad. So it makes it look like you're defending the game because you made a shit game too, not because you believe Sean Murray is innocent.
Yeah, but assumption.
Welcome to how human beings operate. We're not fucking computers, are we?
That's right. But you see, that's the thing, is actually, that's what a meme is. More like a computer. You just make the assumption.
And then it goes back to that is the most autistic shit to say, man.
Yeah, well, that's what you say. I don't think so.
Your chat will agree with me. Pick something different. Pick anything different. That's all I'm saying. Any other thing you want to say, but that is the most autistic shit.
Well, if you think so, good for you.
I do think it is the most autistic.
That's fine, but I think it's dead on because I've been looking for an opposite to human that isn't machine. Could you say human, machine? The real battle of the world is not.
That is just some hardcore LARPing Vulcan shit. Okay.
Well, if you think so, that's fine.
Meme. Okay.
Do you want me to do? Do you want me to do a live long and prosper thing? Does that help?
Yeah. Throw up the.
Look, mate. The point is that either you believe that either your standpoint. I think that what's happened is that your perspective. I don't understand why. This is the way you look at it. Your standpoint is now that your baseline that you have for any game developer is negative. It feels that way. That you
no, I'll be honest with you just to close this out because I don't want you to get the impression that I hate all game devs. I don't. There are a lot of game devs that have made games that have been.
Well, it would help if you made that clear, wouldn't it?
I do. When I leave positive reviews, when I give positive feedback, when I link their product and say these guys made a great game, go purchase their game. When I talk about how much I enjoy their product.
Good. Well, that's fine. And when you are being negative about a product, that's absolutely fine. What I'm talking about is basically in the end intimidation. Now, you've admitted that you do know about bullying.
Well, yeah. Well, to be fair, you told me I would know about it. You said I'd be I can't remember how you phrased it, but you said,
I know.
You're very familiar with it.
I suggested that, and you seem to agree with me. But so I read it that way. Maybe I misunderstood you.
I'm a Hugh meme, so what do I know? What do I know? All right. Well, you want to call it here? I'll let you get back to your game.
You aren't when you say that. Look, mate. It's actually it was okay. I mean, I have no idea what the audience are out there doing, but your audience. But it was actually I don't know. We achieved much, but
we had a conversation.
There was one thing which we can agree with. Okay, and that we do agree with, and that is that it's a good idea, perhaps not to have pre-orders and to say anything about your game before it's released.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you should just let it stand on its merits.
And you let it stand on its merits. And some of that other stuff is a bit contentious, I understand, and maybe I didn't describe it so well. But I do think, in the end, it's a matter of how to make the world a better place, and that might sound all kind of lovey-dovey, but I'm actually passionate about that. And it's one of the things that gives me a motivation to keep going.
Okay.
You
Well,
know.
yeah, like we disagree on stuff. Whatever, that's fine.
Well,
We
but
we have a
it's
conversation
because
at
I've
the end
done
of
it
the day.
before. That's the thing. So I'm trying to do it again, which is kind of interesting. I mean,
Okay. Well,
if I if I didn't do it again, I would have died a very sad person because I never tried. So I got the chance to do it again. So I'm trying to do it again. But why? Because I want to entertain people. I want them to have fun. I mean, that's my motivation, right? That's why I do what I do. It's for that. It's for a good motivation. A good
well, hey,
motivation, right?
you went on stream. You got 1,200 people watching. For better or worse, you were open with them about what you believe. I may disagree with you, but at least
Yeah,
you were
well,
open
that's fine.
about it.
We're open. But that's why I do what I do in an effort, in my own little tiny insignificant way, to make the world a better place. And if that sounds corny, I accept that. But that's me. That's how I get up in the morning. That's what I
Yeah,
stand for.
and I
Right?
understand. I think it's just a little too utopian
No,
of a
it's whatever.
point,
You see,
and I think it's getting too intermingled with the concept of just basic business practices. But I get
well,
what you're saying.
that's okay. But business practice. It's not why I get up in the morning. I get up in the morning because I want to do what I was born to do, in the hope that I will entertain people and that they will enjoy, as I have done in the past. I don't know whether I will succeed or not. I don't know whether I'll be here next year. I don't know, but I'm going to keep trying. So anyway, thanks for the chat.
Okay.
We'll draw a line under that, I think.
All right. Well, have fun with your game development, and yeah, it was interesting.
All right. Take care now.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care.
Well, that was very interesting. So I'm going to just let everybody clear out, and then I'll be able to see the regulars in here, and I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing. Ah, that was one there. I will kill you, Dino. Well, that was nice. Yes. Well, we just let it all settle out. I mean, I can't really ban everybody right now. You see. See, look at this. It's amazing. Can you see all of that? Ah. Yeah, carry on enjoying your spamming. Please do that. I mean, I do want you to have fun. So if you're having fun spamming, carry on spamming. I'm taking a break and I'll be back. And keep at it. Do your spam. Spam. We all want spam. We all want that. Look, crap, don't we? Very good. I'll be back soon. between the pebble and the grass, there's a space. I feel my heart race as I chase the dream. It fell into the crack, it fell down somewhere. I think if I try hard enough, I might. The signal comes in strong, it turns my head. I chase my way back to the bed. I know, I feel, somewhere it's real. The dream, the dream. I slept, the dream crept out. It took around the long way back to where it came. I know it had my name, but when it arrived, it had gone. And so, next time, I chase the dream again, but it's not the same, it'll never come again. I've lost my way.
I will. 1, 2, 3, 4. I woke up the other day, but the day it ran away. So I chased the dream around the bend till I ended up right here again.